right, everybody, welcome on in. Sorry for the weirdness there. I don't know what the fuck happened. It sounds good. Maybe we're too far away from the mic. No, I'm not. You can literally see the mic. It's like literally an inch from my mouth. There's no way for it to be closer. Yo, Mike and chat, I just got my first job. After looking for a year and a half. Wow, congratulations. Welcome on in, everybody. So what are we talking about today? Today is the day of complete and utter Mike from PA vindication. Good vibes day. We just keep winning. The amount of wins that on everything that is now happening, it's almost as if I was handed the lathe of heaven and everything I say on this stream has been proven right. And I'm not saying this to aggrandize myself. I'm saying this because, oh my God, this is amazing. Total Mike from PA victory. Okay, you guys ready? Are you ready to go down the list? Are you ready to go down the list? Step 1, Abdul El Sayed surges into the lead. And the 2026 United States Senate Michigan Democratic primary at 27%. Haley Stevens at 18%. Mallory McMorrow at 17%. One of my followers is now leading the Democratic primary. Huge. El Sayed by 9. Oh, was I right about that? Was I right that he's gonna win? Did we get that right? Is he doing well? They're calling it the Dr. Jihad bump. Oh shit. It's actually a pretty banger. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, for the past week or so, we've been yelling about a certain Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And I've been telling you that she's popular. I'm telling you that she is great on the issues. I have been fighting tooth and nail against the misinformation that is being rampantly spread. Well, today, this morning, the pollster Atlas Intel, the most accurate pollster, right before I got on, this dropped. Atlas Intel, the most accurate pollster of the 2020 and 2024 presidential elections, has AOC leading the Democratic primary ballot and the Dems up 14 in the generic ballot. AOC 26, Pete Buttigieg 22, Gavin Newsom 21, Kamala Harris 12, Andy Beshear 4, Cory Booker 3.9, Josh Shapiro 2, Gretchen Whitmer 1, Tim Walz 1, Ro Khanna 0.9, Rahm Emanuel 0.6, Wes Moore 0.4, Raphael Warnock 0. Utter and complete Mike from PA vindication. The Democratic primary, if the midterm elections for House of Representatives were held today, who would you most likely vote for? Democratic candidate 54.6, Republican candidate 40. Ladies and gentlemen, do you approve of Donald Trump? 59.8 disapprove, 39.5 approve. We are reaching the floor of Republican support in this country. So everything that I've been saying has been definitively and totally proven right, including making fun of, and this is very important, Edigermentum for attacking Atlas Intel. Not to make this a drama fight, but Atlas Intel has consistently been the most accurate pollster. And AOC, I'm literally DMing this to Hassan right now. I am literally messaging. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it has never, ever been different. And I gotta tell you, AOC versus Little Marco, the warmonger neocon, I'll take her every day and twice on Sunday. He might be the ideal candidate for AOC to run against, to be honest. It would separate the parties so perfectly. Every dipshit moron, Democrat, never Trump Republican neocon would go back to the Republican Party. I wouldn't have to look at Sarah Longwell or Tim Miller or any of the or all these fucking idiots would leave. It would be so fucking glorious. It would be beautiful, and they would get fucking smashed. Holy shit! It's like my ideal world is happening. My ideal world, complete and utter vindication. I don't know what else more to say. We have never been proven more right than we are this morning. Also, an aside, Keir Starmer is facing complete and utter collapse of his support abroad in the United Kingdom. The centrist moderate Labor Party is in complete collapse, which is, of course, another Mike from PA vindication. The next, that the bullshit that there is no ceasefire, and oh, what do you know? Oil's back above 100 again. Inflation now at almost 4% in April. Oh my God. The highest since May of 2023. Terrible inflation, oil prices surging, no ceasefire. I think we may be seeing, I am loath to ever say that you should bet against the market, but I have never in my life seen a situation where the fundamentals are so thoroughly in opposition to what's happening since other famous bubbles in our history. Everything sucks. There is absolutely no reason to think anything is going to be better, and everybody is fully invested, which means who's going to buy higher at this point? RBC sees stocks pushing higher as everyone has jumped into the pool. That means there's no more buyers. That's the opposite. If everybody's fully invested, then how do you go higher? There's no more cash on the sideline. I don't know what to say, chat. Now, obviously, that's not financial advice, and I would never tell anybody to short anything because the losses are uncapped. Mike, your face is doing that weird thing where the edges of your lips are stretching towards your earlobes. What's that called? I believe that we call that in the medical profession a gesture called a smile. I'm not really practiced in one of those. So you're going to have to, somebody with more experience with those is going to have to. Total and complete and utter Mike from PA vindication. Oh yeah, and let me talk about I had a link on this too. But STARMER is cooked. STARMER is completely cooked. Xi is also meeting with Trump. AOC and Zohran Mamdani have the highest favorables. AOC, do you have a positive or negative image of the following politicians? AOC +4, Zohran Mamdani +3. The only people that do better are Barack and Michelle Obama. Hillary Clinton and Gavin Newsom massively unpopular. Jesus. Oh my God. Complete and utter Mike from PA vindication. Complete and utter Mike from PA vindication. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. Crapload of U.S. executives going with Trump to China and bending the knee. Oh my God. We're living through a period. It's finally happening. Another article just hit the timeline. The United States cannot fight China. Max Boot, one of America's most vicious warhawks and neocons, has just published an article saying that the United States of America cannot fight China, and we are incapable of defeating them. Could you briefly summarize how China's military has changed since the 1980s? It's hard not to be hyperbolic when you talk about the transformation from the force I just saw, which was equipped largely with Korean and some Vietnam War era gear. Today, it's hard to point to an area other than submarines and undersea warfare and say the United States still has an advantage. I don't think we have an advantage in missile, space, cyber, reconnaissance, etc. I think they are leading us in categories such as air-to-air missiles, surface-to-air missiles, and counter space capabilities and electronic warfare. The thing that should jump off the page at you is how many advanced munitions they're building, magnitudes greater than our industrial base could produce. The Chinese have one shipyard that builds more than all of our shipyards combined. They deploy enough ships every year to replicate the entire French Navy. If the reports are true that we expended a huge portion of our long-range strike and theater missile defense capability fighting Iran, then we don't have anywhere near the inventory we would need for a China fight. Utter, total Mike from PA vindication. I think I may be, like, I'm trying not to become self-aggrandizing asshole here, but I think we may be the most accurate analyst. Like, our community might be the most accurate analyst on every major issue that's currently going on. I don't know of any place that has developed a consensus better than here. Incredible. I just wish I was a little bit more less abrasive, huh? Maybe more people would listen. I don't know. I think, like, for me, this community has done such a good job of developing these insights, and I just get so frustrated because for me, the facts are what that matter, right? And for a lot of other people, other shit seems to matter a lot more. And I am very bad at the other shit. It's fucking so I get frustrated, like, you know, whatever things were just vindicated over and over and over again. I haven't even gotten to my UK analysis. Like, everything I said about the UK also came completely true. Like, when he first came into power, I was like, this guy's going to destroy the Labour Party. Keir Starmer is exactly the politician that centrist pundits want on policy and political tactics. His prime ministership has been a total failure in every way. Now the Labour Party, one of the most storied political parties in history, is on the verge of total collapse. I wrote that back in February. Like, honestly, I don't even know what to say anymore. I don't even know what to say anymore. The centrist Labour Party, which took the advice of Third Way and purged all the leftists, has now slipped below the eco-socialist Green Party and the average of all polls. Isn't it interesting that the Democrats got advice from the UK's Labour Party, a neoliberal centrist party whose approval rating has fallen faster than any other party on record, and ignoring Mexico, where center-left President Claudia Sheinbaum is winning record levels of positive approval. Wait, did this guy delete this post? Wow, that's amazing. A centrist deleting their old predictions when they never become true? An underreported story is that Kamala Harris and the Democrats took political advice from the centrist UK Labour Party top minds. Has Labour tried moving to the right and being horrendous to trans people and immigrants? I was told this was a good idea politically. Maybe another round of austerity will do the trick. Back in last year, this Labour Party was advising the Kamala Harris campaign, if you want to know why Democrats lose. If you're on the center left of the UK, abandon the Labour Party immediately, or the left. And you know what happened, chat? They did. And the Green Party is now the second largest party in the United Kingdom after the Fascist Reform Party, which is kind of a bummer. But more than 100 Labour MPs signed letters saying it's no time for a leadership contest as Starmer refuses to quit. What? Why wouldn't it be? There's no other time than right now. What are you saying? Oh my God, if they keep Keir Starmer on, they must be wanting to criminalize the Greens or something. Like, that's the only thing. What do I think about the PA Supreme Court justice switching from independent from Democrat? Yeah, Wecht. The Wecks have always been Zionist freaks. Fuck them. I'm glad. Hopefully we could not retain.
美国
Okay,
这个全球最富
we'll save this for later. This is actually off topic. There have been more statements today from MPs who want Keir Starmer to resign. I recognize that the Prime Minister has led us through some extra. Oh my God! Why is the background green? Why are you posting a green image saying that Keir Starmer should resign? I believe that labor values and policy are still the only way to improve our country. We need a prime minister who could show the country what progress we have made and still make. Labor didn't offer simplistic slogans. We offer real solution. Governing a country requires compromise and hard choices, and we're the only party who faces up to that. This sounds like Chat GPT to me. Am I crazy? I think I might be over noticing it, because even when I myself write something with like lists, I'm like, is that a Chat GPT? There's too many lists. What's the thing that really pings it? But it's like, it's not X, it's Y. That's the thing that I always go, that's AI. Whatever somebody said, which is a totally legit thing to say, by the way. Like, that's not something AI came up with. But anytime someone says, that's not that, it's that, I'm always like, AI. And the thing is, like, even now, the problem is now, like, if you write something and you like look at sources, a lot of those sources have AI in them. And so you're going to inadvertently, like, it's changing the way we write. Signs of AI writing. Okay. Undue emphasis on significant legacy and broader trends. Okay. Canned emphasis on notability, attribution, and media coverage. Oh, yeah, that's terrible. Superficial analyses. Creating a lively community within its borders. That sounds like, it's like a PR or something. That's funny. Anyway, sorry for getting distracted by that. Holy shit. Whatever is happening elsewhere in British politics, national security is the first responsibility of government. It's something I take very seriously. That is why I will not be resigning. Like, that's the thing. The centrists everywhere have learned a lesson, which is just stay in power until they drag you out. Why not? I mean, which unfortunately is one of my arguments. Never resign. This is a new piece of advice. Never quit. Never quit. If you're in political office Make them drag your ass out. Unless you've like committed some sort of horrible crime where you know you're fucked. Like, you know, that's in that case, focus on doing what you need to do to stay out of prison. But if somebody has like a scandal, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe this guy. When he was a high schooler, he retweeted somebody using AAVE. Like, don't quit over that. Okay, like never resign. Okay. The Al Franken. Oh yeah, exactly. Al Franken, like what the fuck? Nobody would give a shit about what Al Franken did. Now, I'm not saying that it's okay to do weird, creepy shit like he did. But at the same time, it's like, look at Donald Trump now. Like, look at the world we live in. And now we have Andrew Cuomo. That's the point. It's like, it's not like Democrats care about that. Since Starmer is in his lettuce phase, it's time to reflect.
I call again for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, the return of the sausages, the hostages.
The return of the sausages? The return of the sausages.
I call again for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, the return of the sausages, the hostages. I call again.
Holy shit, man. Here's my analysis of the Labour Party back in 2023. The Labour Party is the worst center-right party in the world. It almost makes the Democrats respectable. Just a clear example of what happens when neoliberals are no longer tempered by any sort of pure crushing austerity and right-wing economic policy. And it's a complete political disaster. Here I am back in 2024. Yo, progressives in the UK, abandon Labour. So what I say today is total Mike from PA vindication. Like every single major story today is proving our analysis correct. Here I am in July 15th, 2023. Oh my God. Holy shit. Holy shit. Like other people, like I come on, man. Jesus Christ. It appears a foregone conclusion that the British Labour Party is about to take the path blazed by Obama, squandering a once-in-a-lifetime majority in order to enact right-wing policy and austerity. An America that has led to Trump and the resurgence of fascism. Good luck, Brits. Would you or Hassan talk to Avi Lewis? Of course. Of course we would. It's just not, it's not, you know, it's on the list of things to do. There is a rule about my Twitter, is that the fewer the likes a tweet gets, the more accurate it is. It's like the fewer likes I get on a tweet, the like more incisive it is. It's like whatever I see through the fucking matrix and I post it, no one sees it. The truth is incredibly unpopular. Holy fucking shit. This is from 2023. I called the future perfectly. I mean, this is insane. Like, I don't even know how to explain how perfect this is. This is like 4 predictions in one fucking paragraph that all came completely true. They weren't even in power yet. My God, I predicted the fucking massive majority. I predicted them fucking squandering it all. I predicted them doing right-wing policy and austerity. And then I predicted the resurgence of fascism. And that all happened exactly as I said. Oh my God. Oh, this is not good for me. It's supposed to be good vibes day, not like, oh my God, why can I not get people to listen to me? What am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? Corbyn should join the Greens and actually go after Labor. There's literally just a Tory party at this point. It should be destroyed. Hey, imagine if Jeremy Corbyn did that instead of doing the dumb... listen to me, you motherfuckers! Jesus. Again, 60 likes. My usual tweets get, you know, like 500-600 likes. The more accurate my tweets are, the less they get liked. It's crazy. In front of each predictive tweet, my prediction. Watch this space. Yeah. Yeah. You need a whiteboard. You need a whiteboard. I mean, listen, I'm not trying to, like, again, this isn't about me. I'm not trying to be like, oh my God, I'm the smartest, blah, 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 blah. It's more like, what do I do so that we could head off some of the disasters by doing bad ideas and maybe do good ideas? But that being said, it's not all bad. I told you guys that I've been telling you guys for years that AOC is popular. That AOC is our girl. She is going to push the left forward. That we should criticize her, but have a positive relationship with her where we have influence instead of like alienating her and treating her like garbage and micro-examining every point of disagreement for the purpose of like lying about her. And yet she's now the most popular Democratic politician in the country. Unbelievable. Like, let's fucking go. Gavin Newsom, as unpopular as Hillary Clinton, no wonder all the paid DNC shills are trying to pump him up this week. This guy is a disaster. AOC and Zoran are the most popular national politicians in office. Damn, my analysis and prediction of British politics for 2023 was dead on accurate. Also, it's so funny that I analogized it to Obama in the same week that Graham Plattner said the same thing. K-Hive bending the knee.
They're throwing their biggest warrior under the bus for a...
Okay, the white leftists are throwing their biggest warrior under the bus. No, this is not. Get this fucking shit out of here. Get this fucking garbage out of here. Get this CIA shit out of here. This is what Edinger is pushing. It's very hard to overstate how lobotomized the Democratic primary base is. Bro, you were saying like Raphael War. You were saying like John Ossoff and Gretchen Whitmer and shit. Like, you are the same. You are the fucking same. Shut the fuck up. Did you see the under 45? Voters ages 18 to 44. El Said 80. Stevens 4. Oh my God. Holy shit. The Hasanabi effect. Am I being trolled? This is Saddam Hussein level numbers. You're right. It's under 45. Oh my God. Hassan, can you run for office, bro? Can we get Hassan to run for office? What are we doing? You don't think he could easily take a fucking congressional seat? Come on, Piker. He says he doesn't want to. Unbelievable total Mike from PA victory. El Said is now winning women voters. He's winning women because he's got all the young women. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Total Mike from PA vindication. Utter and complete vindication. Dr. Jihad. What the fuck? 80%? Holy shit.
Welcome to Current Affairs. My name is Nathan Robinson. I am the editor-in-chief of Current Affairs magazine. Returning to the program today is Dr. Abdul El Sayed. He is a Democratic candidate for the United States Senate in the great state of Michigan. He's also, I have to say, a former contributor to Current Affairs magazine and would be the first former Current Affairs contributor elected to the U.S. Senate if elected. Just a little small side note there. And he is, according to Slate, the Democrat everybody is talking about. Dr. El Sayed, welcome back to the program.
Thank you so much for having me, Nathan. It's good to continue the conversation.
Well, listen, I first came out to see your campaign in 2018 in Michigan for governor, and there was a lot of excitement at that time, just like there was a lot of excitement around Bernie Sanders in 2016, 2020. But you didn't win, he didn't win. And yet, it seems this time as if something may feel a little different. We've had since then some very unexpected political upsets. Mamdani in New York, Graham Plattner recently in Maine. Do you think things feel different this time around? And if so, what's your explanation for that?
Yeah, they certainly do. I mean, you see it in room after room across the state. You see it reflected in the data that's coming out of polling, et cetera. And I think it's a couple things. Number one, my message hasn't changed. I'm saying the same thing I said 8 years ago when I ran for governor in 2018. I think what has changed, though, is that circumstances have proven a lot of that message right. I said that Donald Trump was not himself the disease of our politics. He's just the worst symptom of the disease, and that the system itself was the disease that allowed corporations and billionaires and special interests to buy and sell politicians in ways that leave them rigging the system against us. And I think over the last 8 years, people have seen that happen in an accelerating fashion. You think about the people who were at the dais with Donald Trump when he got sworn in for a second time. You think about the rise of AI and big tech. You think about the fact that we've watched more and more billionaires spit out of this economy at a higher and higher rate. And people feel like they are running in quicksand and cannot afford the basic means of a dignified life. You watch our tax dollars get funneled over to backstop a foreign military and its genocide in Israel. And you ask, why is my deductible higher than it's ever been? I think all of those things have validated what I was saying. And I think a lot of folks are a lot more interested now in a response that is about actually taking on that core system. I also think that I've been around, right? And I think we take for granted sometimes that in politics, you really do have to build a coalition of people and you have to build relationships. Now, when I did not win in 2018, I went back to public service. I served Wayne County leading health, human, and veteran services for Michigan's largest, most diverse county. I built relationships in which people knew who I was and what I was about. We put glasses on kids' faces. We put Narcan in 100 different locations. We eliminated $700 million of medical debt. And people came to understand that I was not just talking about ideas, that I was willing to go where the rubber hits the road and get those ideas implemented into government. And I think this time around, when people look at me, they say, all right, he was 32 and never run for office. Now he's 41 with 2 kids and a mortgage. He's saying the same exact thing. My life is a lot harder. And he's been about it for the past 8 years. So let's think differently about what we can do. And I think all of that, put it together and recognize that we're building a campaign that's taken us to 90 different cities, 350 public events. We go everywhere and talk to everyone. I think all of that is coming together in this campaign right now.
You didn't think that maybe you'd like to go and live in California, for instance, for a little bit?
No, I like Michigan, famously.
You mentioned there United States support for Israel's genocide in Gaza. This is one area where the politics really seem to have changed. Public opinion has really shifted on this. There was a time when any candidate who opposed AIPAC's influence in politics would be basically drummed out of politics. And that,
not only that, it's not just that he's opposing AIPAC and Israel's influence on politics. He's saying it, right? He's not like silently behind the scenes working some shit and listening to people quietly in a bar and putting a hand on the shoulder of the Arab community and saying like, hey, listen, I'm with you, but just the realities are bad. No, he's making it a cornerstone of the campaign. I think one of the biggest reasons why I'm such a bloomer and never doomers out, get the fuck out, is because I've seen stuff like this. The way things have changed. When I was talking about Palestinians in 2021, nobody was on my side, man. Nobody was on my side. Oh, man, it's crazy. I mean, I almost made it through without being called an anti-Semite, but unfortunately, the ultras got a clip out of context of me reacting emotionally to Benjamin Netanyahu at the UN and took it out of context. So they managed to boost that to the ADL. So I did get called an anti. So thank you, ultras. Good job. You damaged Twitch's reputation, my reputation. Good job with bullshit that is a lie. Good job, guys.
Happened up until very recently. I mean, we saw what happened to Jamal Bowman, Cori Bush, but Graham Plattner just achieved an overwhelming victory while being very firm on the issue of Israel-Palestine. It didn't work on Zoran Mamdani either. Could you comment on what's going on? And obviously, there was an effort when you campaigned alongside the streamer Hassan Piker to suggest that I believe he was a supporter of terrorism or an anti-Semite or etc. And it didn't seem to affect your poll numbers either. So could you tell us a little bit what you think is going on there?
It's not even about Palestine and Israel. It's about what we do with our tax dollars in Michigan.
Hassan yelled at Sin of Marxism again yesterday. I mean, that's so honestly, chat. It's so funny because I don't even say anything about those streamers to Hassan, right? I don't even need to. He just reads their dumb takes and he's like, God, these people are stupid.
Running for senator from Michigan. And it's a crazy thing that for a very long time, wherever you were running for Senate, you had a $100 million super PAC in AIPAC telling folks that the best use of their tax dollars was to be sent abroad to backstop an apartheid regime, to subsidize genocide, to now fight a war that we have no business fighting.
From the poll, it's very clear that one of the most... can you link me that instead of quoting it? Thank you.
At the behest of a foreign government's prime minister. I think people are looking at this and saying, how the hell are you misappropriating my tax dollars? And why the hell are all these politicians for it? And I think that really is the issue. As the next senator from Michigan, I want my Michigan tax dollars spent in Michigan to provide healthcare in Michigan and schools in Michigan. I don't want them sent abroad. And
I mean, and that is such a simple message. That's the essence of what people think they're voting for when they vote for America first. I'm not talking about the fascists, right? I'm not talking about the dumb, the dyed-in-the-wool racists. I'm talking about the regular people who don't follow politics much, but they hear America first as a slogan. That's what they think they're voting for. Now, they're not. They're voting for Israel first. They're voting for war. That's why they now hate Trump. But they thought they were like, hey, let's stop spending money overseas and take care of our families here at home. Let's avoid wars, right? Meanwhile, Kamala Harris is like, let's have the most lethal military. Blah, 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 blah. Well, we don't. China does.
I think people are really just sick and tired of being told that the best use of their money is to kill other people's kids when they're...
Oh, my God, chat. I want to publish a YouTube video called The Hassan Effect. Abdul El Sayed surges to the lead. Mitchell Research and Communications. This pollster is the most accurate pollster of all time. I've never seen a pollster more accurate. How do I know? Because they're saying what I want to believe. No, that's a joke. After endorsements from U.S. Senator Bernie Sanders and controversial podcaster Hassan Piker, Abdul El Sayed has surged into a 9 percentage point lead over Congresswoman Haley Stevens and State Senator Mallory McMorrow in race for the Democratic nomination for U.S. Senate to replace retiring Senator Gary Peters, according to an exclusive statewide polls by MIRS conducted by Mitchell Research and Communications, May 1st to 7th, with 405 likely voters. 38% are undecided. Earlier polls had shown Stevens and McMorrow in a statistical dead heat, with El Sayed just a few points behind. In the race for governor, Jocelyn Benson has a huge lead over Jennings County Sheriff Chris Swanson and 30% undecided. It has generally been the rule that most liberal Democrats vote in a Democratic primary and the most conservative Republicans vote in a Republican primary, with El Sayed tacking far left. And in opposition to both the United States and Israel and Gaza and Iran, El Sayed is running as the most progressive and liberal candidate. Democrats saw the impact of a strong leftist progressive wing of their party take over the Democratic nomination convention held to determine Democratic nominees for statewide office like Secretary of State, Attorney General, and statewide election education board seats. Hiker, considered by many to be anti-Semitic, is probably a primary reason for El Sayed's movement upward in the Democratic primary. Polling in 2024 showed a plurality of Democratic voters supported Palestinians in the Palestinian-Israeli war. We see evidence of that same type of backing in the support of El Sayed is receiving in the Democratic primary. Pollsters are doing hits against Hassan. What the fuck is this? Oh my God. I am DMing this shit to Hassan right fucking now, chat. Oh my God. This is so funny. Oh my God. I don't... I'm literally DMing Hassan this. Oh my God. Oh my God. Bro, they have the pollsters calling him anti-Semitic. That's crazy. Oh my God, dude. Like, they're calling him anti-Semitic, man. Like, come on. 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 This is silly, dude. Holy shit. Oh my God, dude. This is so fucking funny. I'm like spamming Hassan. I just... I just said, LOL, they say that you are the reason Abdul is winning, while also calling him anti-Semitic. Oh my God, dude. Holy shit. I'm gonna actually, you know what? I'm gonna also text Austin this. I might text Austin to come on the stream. This is the funniest shit. I'm like, I just got a warning that I'm hurting my ears from yelling too much. Holy shit, this is amazing. Okay, hold on. Go back to reading Abdul as I text
Own kids go
Austin.
to
Holy
schools
shit.
that look like they did 30 years ago, when their own kids can't get the healthcare that they need, when their own kids are at risk of dying in car accidents because our infrastructure is so broke. Like, all of these things, I think, have come to a head. And I also think that the old system of communication, right, the corporate press and corporate media, in a lot of ways had always been able to drum up a certain level of antipathy for somebody who is willing to deviate from the usual talking points, and they've just lost a lot of their power. For 3 weeks on end, the only thing that Fox News and CNN could agree about was that, because I was campaigning with somebody who streams on Twitch, that somehow I was outside of the bounds of traditional politics. And I would tell them, no, if you actually pull the issue, which they did, it's an 80% issue. People want their tax dollars spent here. And that's not about antipathy for anybody. That's about love of people, love of the people I want to serve here in Michigan, love of Palestinians in the same way that I love Jewish folk. It is about recognizing that if you're serious about loving people, you got to love all people. If you're serious about human rights, your human rights have to apply everywhere. So, in some respects, it's just, I think this moment, people are just saying, I am actually going to believe my lying eyes. And they're coming and learning about my campaign and saying, all right, this is a guy who wants to get money out of politics, put money in your pocket, pass Medicare for all. I'm kind of for that.
Let me ask you
Oh my God. Abdul, I'm so happy, man. I'm so happy. I'm so happy, dude. Thank you, Destiny. Oh my God. Thank you, Destiny. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. The reason why I'm saying thank you, Destiny, is because those guys obsessively freaked out over Hassan for years, and they collected all those bad faith clips out of context, and they spammed it so much that it convinced the centrist Democrats that they could be able to go after Hassan and people would be offended. And they tried the DGG playbook because of Destiny's bots. And all that's happened is now they've helped push the Democratic Party far to the left because regular people agree with us. And they were like, what? None of this is bullshit. And all they've done is given us more attention and more engagement. Oh my God. Oh my God. This is amazing. Oh my God. Listen to what they say. With El Sayed attacking far left and in opposition to both the United States and Israel and Gaza and Iran, El Sayed is running as the most progressive. Syed is most progressive and liberal candidate. Democrats saw the impact of a strong leftist progressive win of their party take over the Democratic nominated convention. Hiker, considered by many to be anti-Semitic, is probably a primary reason for El Sayed's movement upward in the Democratic primary. They had to put that considered anti-Semitic just so we wouldn't link this, but I don't care. Call us anti-Semitic. We're not. We hate anti-Semitism. Falsely call us anti-Semitic all you want. All you're doing is making pro-Zionist positions more untenable. It's very clear that one of the most important factors in El Sayed's movement up in the polls is the support he's receiving from far-left progressives who very strongly oppose the United States and Israeli intervention in both Gaza and Iran. Yeah! Woo! Yeah! Yes! Oh my God! We're fucking winning! Oh, God damn it! His support really bumped up after the endorsement by Hassan Piker. Oh my God! Oh! This is what I've been saying for so fucking long. Oh my God. It's very clear that one of the most important factors in El Sayed's movement up in the poll. Why did this fuck up? Why is this picture fucked up? Fuck! Is support he's receiving from far left progressives who very strongly oppose the United States and Israeli intervention in both Gaza and Iran. His support really bumped up after the endorsement by Hassan Piker. Okay, I need to change my title. Fuck Anna Kasparian. I'm not talking about this shit. Holy shit, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I don't know what else to say, folks. I don't know what else to say. I don't know what else to say. This is utter and complete and total Mike from PA vindication. I have been a person who, you know, I've been telling Hassan that he has more motion than he thinks. So this is also more vindication for me because I've been telling Hassan, man, you could run for office. You could do more, but like, you are important. Remember how many times I've said that on this stream that I don't like how he downplays how important he is? And I don't remember that? And people will be like, oh, you're glazing him. No, that's just analysis. I'm not glazing. I'm analyzing reality. And the reality is here. Mike from PA vindication. The pollster. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Like the vindication that I'm sorry if I'm like, if I got quiet there, I'm just messaging back and forth with Assad for a second. Oh my God. Assad simply visiting a candidate spits up hundreds of supporters where he goes. That's insane levels of motion. Yeah, he's basically, I mean, it's crazy. And he's not even, here's the other thing. He's not putting any organizing effort in. That's the thing is, he's just like showing up and getting a bunch of people. Like if you actually said, okay, like typically when a politician goes somewhere, the campaign will do like volunteer calls or they will do like, they'll call the neighborhood and be like, hey, so-and-so's coming to your neighborhood. Will you come? Nobody's doing that. Nobody's like boosting. This shit is 100% organic. Like honest to God, he's got presidential level motion. I've said this before. And like, I know this because I've helped senatorial campaigns. I've helped congressional campaigns. Like Hassan gets like if I'm doing a GOTV in a general election campaign, that's the kind of motion that he's getting. Nobody cares about British politics. That's so funny. Mike, you're gonna love this. Among aged voters age 18 to 44, Abdul El Sayed 80%. I mean, these are fucking Saddam Hussein level numbers. Also, did I tweet that before him? Okay, no, he tweeted before me. Damn it. Hassan gets the same amount of viewers as A-list musicians, except that's even more impressive because he's talking about politics. He's not making music for you to turn your brain off. He's saying, hey, let's talk about the most contentious issues. That's insane. Oh my God. This is a day of utter vindication for me. A complete, and I don't say this because I want to make it about myself. It's not that. It is like our ideas. The things that Hassan and I have been saying for almost a decade are being definitively proven correct. Like if you go back to my very first stream debating Destiny, I was making a lot of these same arguments then. Oh my God.
About your theory of electability, because the polling that I have seen suggests that at the moment, if you look at a general election matchup between yourself and your Republican opponent, or your two current Democratic opponents, Haley Stevens, Mallory McMorrow, they have a slightly greater chance in the existing polls of beating the Republican. I think you're even there a few points ahead. You said recently on Twitter/X that you were pretty confident, in fact, I believe you said bet on it, that you could beat the Republican by 7 points. Now, Jonathan Chait at The Atlantic recently wrote an article about you, which he essentially said that your theory of electability is crazy, that the classic Democratic theory that there's a political spectrum, it runs to the left, to the right, Michigan is in the center, so the Democrats win by selecting someone who is in the center, and the Republicans lose if they select someone that's off to the right, so you need to run a centrist Democrat against a centrist Republican if you want to win a swing state. That's kind of roughly the theory. Clearly, that is not how you see the political world. And if you think you could, in Michigan, comfortably beat a Republican, you have reasons for thinking that. I want to know your reasons.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate the question because I really want us to step back and ask a couple of very basic points about how politics actually work. Not from the Atlantic desk where you have a vested interest in sustaining a system that whitewashes neoliberal ideas, that continues to tell us that the best use of our money is to subsidize big corporations or a foreign government. But if that was true about moderation, why did Michigan vote for Donald Trump twice? If everybody just wanted perfectly inoffensive, why did Donald Trump win in Michigan twice? Like, actually just play this out. Bernie Sanders won his primary in 2016. Then Michiganders elected Trump. Then Biden won. Then Trump won again. And one theory of the case is that Michiganders are just pinging back and forth. The other theory of the case is that they keep going up to the buffet, not really knowing what they want because the thing that they want isn't there, and having to choose between two things they don't really want. And my point is that you could actually give Michiganders the things that they want. Now, map that into the minds of most people. I don't think most voters out there are asking, where do I sit on a left-right spectrum? I think most folks are asking, how am I going to be able to afford my groceries? How am I going to be able to afford my overinflated gas? How am I going to be able to make sure that my kid has a good shot at life? How do I see a doctor when I get sick? And I think your best bet is to be able to answer those questions clearly by speaking the truth about the fact that for too long, all of these things have been put out of reach because of the power of corporations in our politics to buy and sell politicians. I'm the only candidate in my race, Democrat or Republican, who's never taken a dime of corporate money and never will. And so when I tell you I want to show up and fight for you, you can trust I'm going to show up and fight for you. Now, a lot of folks looked at Donald Trump and said, well, he doesn't look like the establishment, so I guess I'll take a bet on him. But he also looked like a narcissistic billionaire asshole. So I don't look like a narcissistic billionaire asshole. And I think there's an opportunity to say, hey, what if that package of not establishment came in the form of a doctor who rebuilt the health department, who eliminated $700 million of medical debt and put glasses on kids' faces for free and put Narcan in 100 vending machines. And then there's finally the point that campaigns matter. When folks looked at this race back a year ago when we all launched, everybody said, well, there's no chance that Abdul has because, well, his name's Abdul. How's he going to win a primary? And now everyone, those same people are freaking out, being like, oh, Abdul could win the primary. Why? Because we actually went to 90 different cities, 350 public events, had conversations with everyone about the key things people were feeling. And we were able to persuade people about what was possible if we thought differently about what our politics are. I'm going to be running against an actual guy. His actual name is Mike Rogers. He's actually the guy who helped to architect the opioid crisis. He actually retired to Florida for a $14 million lobbyist payout for his new gig as a pharma lobbyist. And he actually lost on healthcare last cycle. And I'm actually going to whoop his rear end up and down the state because I'm a doctor who rebuilt the health department, eliminated $700 million in debt and put Narcan in people's hands. He's a guy who kicked off an opioid epidemic. And so, yes, I'm going to beat him by 7. And I'm looking forward to that campaign.
What you're talking about there is that we shouldn't accept, polls as a frozen political reality.
I think this is an extremely important point, and Nathan is completely right. Like, polling is something that reflects a moment in time, and it's highly changeable and highly contingent. And so when we show that our issues are already at 60%, that's because they're being opposed by both parties. The real support for that policy is probably closer to 75, 80 if it was implemented. And like, that is something, that's why they hate it. That's why they hate it.
Interviewed MELTDOWN on this program at the beginning.
I think the most hopium part of the national election poll is the closest left candidate to AOC, Roe, is so far down the polling charts that it's a rounding error. You can pretty much tell if somebody's a moron if they put Ro Khanna and AOC in the same breath. And I'm sorry for people that I'm offending by saying that. They're not. Ro Khanna is a nobody compared to AOC. That's why I think AOC, first of all, she's better on the issues, and she's more popular. And people are bitching and belly aching. And it's fucking crazy. She's the 4th most left-wing congresswoman in the fucking country. And she's leading the Democratic primary. What is wrong with you guys? Wake the fuck up. It's like, what are you doing? And it's like, well, Mike, she said vote for Kamala Harris. So did pretty much everybody. Who gives a fuck? Who gives a shit? There's only one Democratic politician who didn't say vote for Kamala Harris in November. Her name is Rashida Tlaib. And then she went and did a Democratic Party GOTV event with the UAW. So she constructively endorsed Kamala too. Like, that's just the way it is. That's just the fucking way it is. If you're going to try to hold voted for Kamala Harris over their head, then you can never win anything. Like, what are you saying? Now, I think that she should come out and say and attack the Biden administration openly and be like, they were not telling people the truth about getting a ceasefire. I think she should attack that head on and be like, we need to have a Democratic Party leadership that people can trust. Throw Biden under the bus as a liar. That's what I would like to see her do. I think that would be a good strategy. I don't think she should apologize because politicians should never apologize. It doesn't work. Nobody's like, oh, okay, the politician apologized, I forgive them. No, they get even more vicious. They lean into it because they recognize that you feel weak. So whatever you need to shift or you need to like make up for a past mistake, you don't do it by apologizing it. You do it by attacking an enemy, which is Joe Biden, who can't fight back anyway. He can't even raise money for his fucking presidential library. Okay, he's like the easiest punching bag of all time.
Of his campaign when he was polling at like 3%, and I said, "Are you gonna win this thing?" And he said, "I'm gonna win."
I don't think people want Ro Khanna. I think they want AOC to be more confrontational like Ro, but she is. But every time she is, people start whining and complaining about how Marjorie Taylor Greene is more confrontational than her or some other nonsensical bullshit that really needs to be like pushed back against.
At the time, it was crazy, or it seemed it. And then he went out. Now today, he's the mayor of New York. I feel there's been a lot of talk lately about gerrymandering, and I'm obviously very opposed to racist partisan gerrymandering. But there's almost sort of in some of the Democratic talk about the gerrymandering, this idea, oh, well, there are red districts and blue districts, and once a district is drawn red, you kind of give up on it. You don't campaign in this.
Okay, that's not all right. I know you're not a politician and you don't know this, but most people cannot be persuaded out of voting for one of the parties. I know it sounds like I'm saying something that is, super doomer, and it's not, okay? It's not, all right? I'll give you an example. Most people can't be persuaded not to support their favorite football team anymore. That's the vast majority of people in politics, okay? Just, you need to accept that. But the 20% of people that are persuadable, that leads to a 60% majority, which is more than enough, okay? So yes, sometimes gerrymandering makes a seat unwinnable. Once you make a seat around 10 points biased in one direction, that's probably not a good seat to target. Anything above 5 is a long shot. Okay? So like Just be aware of that. Now, some of those seats might be winnable this year because everybody persuadable hates the Republicans. But there has to be a little bit of pragmatism. A little bit of pragmatism in the way that we run our political system. That being said, I'm ready for a realignment. I don't want to just fight World War I style trench warfare. I want to do sweeping realignment strategies. But we probably need to win the trench war before we can get behind the trenches, right? Like, just because I want to fight a war of maneuver doesn't mean I can ignore the trenches, because I could roll my troops across. I have to cross the trench lines in order to get behind the lines. And if you don't have a strategy of punching through the lines, then you're going to fucking be defeated. You're going to get machine gunned down. So I want to get to maneuver warfare, but to get to maneuver warfare, we first must win the trench war.
Place, if the system is rigged against us, we can't win. You're kind of talking about, I don't know, the idea of not giving up on people just because they voted for Trump and trying to win back some of what you've lost and say, okay, it's a red district now. That doesn't mean it's going to be tomorrow.
I mean, Nathan, you know, the art of political discourse is persuasion. I mean, there's a whole reason you write, because you want to persuade people about what you believe the truth to be. And it's odd in our politics, we've given up on being able to persuade people. I haven't. And that's why we go to a lot of traditionally red parts of the state to have conversations with folks. And it turns out I've had a lot of conversations with folks who voted for Donald Trump. And I had a guy come up to me and said, you know, I don't like you much. I was like, I'm sorry, I like you. He's like, I know, and I'm going to vote for you. I was like, what? Why? He's like, because I think you really want me to have healthcare. I was like, I really want you to have healthcare. He's like, yeah, that's why I'm going to vote for you. I was like, okay, so why don't you like me? He's like, because you're Muslim. I was like, okay, well, it turns out I don't need you to like me. I need you to like you. And at least with me, folks know I'm not bought by the corporations who are running your healthcare system into the ground. I'm not bought by the utility that just inflated your electrical prices higher than 46 other states over the last 20 years and bought off 93% of the state legislature. I'm not bought by anyone. And so when I tell you I'm going to show up and fight for your healthcare, you know I'm going to show up and fight for your healthcare. When I tell you I'm going to show up and fight to put money in your pocket and give you the right to a union, you know that's what I'm going to fight for. When I tell you I'm going to fight against corporate money, you know I'm going to fight against that. So, you know, at the end of the day, there is a conversation to be had about the things that all of us need in our lives. And I think here's the problem. For too long, the Democratic Party didn't have much to say about the structural economic challenges in people's lives, because for too long, that party was taking money from the corporations who were making those problems worse in the first place. And so we pivoted into the same kind of culture war that Republicans were so eager to fight with us. And it turns out in politics is about protecting your rights, and it's also about assuring your access to the basic means of a dignified life, good schools, good health.
So what he's saying here is politics is about power and the distributions of society's wealth and resources. And the rich understand that. That's why they pour billions and billions of dollars into political campaigns, because they are making sure that they get paid. It's an investment and they get a return. I want our politics to give you a return. I think AOC supporters probably should emulate the worst instincts of K-High and Blue No Matter Who liberals and should direct their energy at AOC to right her past wrongs. I think probably what I would say is that I may start banning people who make an analogy to Vote Blue No Matter Who / K-Hive. If you're not capable of using that analogy, I don't think you should be here. They're not at all related in any way. You're fucking stupid. AOC is the best candidate on policy. There is no vote blue no matter who. There is no like a lesser of two evils argument. She's the best candidate on the issues. It's not, the analogy does not fit. You're just stupid. And so you could only fit an argument. So you try to replay an argument that doesn't work. And I may have to actually ban you for that because you're too stupid to continue to exist in my space. And like, it is what it is, right? Like, now you could say, I'm going to vote for Ro Khanna because I really support cryptocurrency. That would be a legitimate argument. If you said, hey, I think Ro Khanna is more pro cryptocurrency and more pro AI, and he doesn't call himself a socialist, and I think that's more electable, that would be your Ro Khanna argument, right? I like you, you know, if you said, I like Ro Khanna because he votes for Israel to get weapons sometimes, that is your Ro Khanna argument. Your Ro Khanna argument isn't AOC endorsed Kamala Harris, which Ro Khanna also did. Okay? You have to actually advance a point. You can't just go like, AOC said she voted president on a bill by Marjorie Taylor Greene, and then she's endorsed Kamala Harris. She's the same thing as the genocidal maniac centrist Democrats. You're fucking nuts. You're not able to discern different things. And it's annoying. And honestly, I'm not going to pretend like you have a legitimate point when you don't. If you want to attack AOC, you should be like, AOC should be stronger on this. I think it would help her electorally because that's what people want. That's my point. But you got to be better than that. And I'm not going to let you be lazy and stupid just because you get likes on Twitter being lazy and stupid. You got to be better. Make a point. Okay, again, AOC, most popular Democratic politician in the country, leading the Democratic primary race, third or fourth most left-wing candidate on every single issue, calls it a genocide, wants to cut off military aid to Israel, against the war in Iran, doesn't want to have a Cold War with China, doesn't want to interfere in Mexico and Brazil, doesn't support invading Cuba and Venezuela, called the coup in Bolivia a coup. Like, what are you saying? What American politician is anywhere this reliable on all of these issues? You're in Looney Tune Ultraland, and it's got to stop. And the reason why I care about this is because I care about all those issues. The moment AOC will do something that pisses me off. Zorod does shit that pisses me off. He does. But then I think about it. What would it be like if it was Andrew Cuomo? What would it be like if it's Gavin Newsom? Are you stupid? Mike, won't it be hard for AOC to accomplish any agenda because of the obstruction she'll face? Does she have a way to transform the party the way Trump was able to? She'll have to do it the same way he did. Be popular and intimidate people to being scared to oppose her. That's the only way. That's the way FDR did it. That's the way LBJ did it. And that's how Trump did it. She has to whip the party. And in order to do that, she's got to win. And she needs a lot of people behind her. Like, for example, Chris Robb, the pro-Palestinian candidate running in Philadelphia, who she just endorsed and is campaigning for. Like, god damn, man. Does she have the confidence, though? What do you think is going to help her get the confidence? Every time she pops her head up to make a difficult position, like supporting Palestine? And you don't think it's difficult because you're not in power. You're a fucking random with an anonymous account. You're not putting your face and your name behind a position like I did. So you think it's fucking easy to have these positions because you put them on like you put on underwear and you could discard them just as easily. So for you, it's easy to hold a position. It is easy for you. You need to learn the difference between like who you are and who other people are. It's actually very important that you stop being stupid. Do you think you can get President AOC to free Maduro and his wife from their illegal confinement in New York City? I think that's our best bet is an AOC presidency. Like, if you want to lift this blockade on Cuba, you vote for AOC. Like, it's that simple, right? Because she has openly said that. Like, these are not small things we're talking about. That's why people like Bad and Panada really disgust me, right? That's why he really disgusts me, because Cuba is suffering because of the United States. And one of the only politicians that has any chance of, like, and has openly supported Cuba's rights is AOC. And if she were to win, that would transform the lives of every Cuban. Full stop. And there's no debate on that. That's not a debate. Like, fuck. I mean, like, Jesus. Mike, you're absolutely right about putting your face behind a position. I'm learning that as a new city councilor. Well, no shit, Felodius. It's very easy to have these positions as an anonymous poster on Twitter or something. But when you're me and you've got your face behind it and your name behind it, everything I do with my influence is now microscopically examined for any possible dirt that could be used to attack me. Do you understand how stressful that is? Because I have people relying on me. So if I slip up, all those people are hurt. In my opinion, your most succinct and convincing argument about AOC is she's the top 5 most progressive in voting history. I mean, yeah, that's because you're probably a little autistic like me. This is why I like AOC. I like AOC because of this number, 97.1. That's an A fucking plus. When I was in high school, 96 and above was an A plus. When a politician lines up with me 97% of the time, I'm like, yeah, that's probably a pretty good number. You know? Rashida Tlaib is better, but no one knows who the fuck she is. I'm sorry. I mean, I know who she is. You know who she is. She's amazing. But AOC is known by the vast majority of the country. Rashida Tlaib is known by like 10% of the country. Do you understand the difference By chat standards, even Rashida isn't, even though she isn't even 100. Of course she's not 100 because she's a politician and she can't make certain votes. Even if she wants to, she can't be like, this person voted in favor of the Bondi Beach massacre. You know what I mean? If somebody writes a bill called the Bondi Beach Massacre Condolence Bill, you can't vote against that. Even if they slip in some bullshit rhetoric you don't agree with. What, are you going to vote against giving condolences to Australia on a fucking mass shooting? What, are you insane? That's the type of shit they put in, and it puts you in a difficult position. And everybody in both parties is working to fuck you over. So occasionally she votes in a way that I don't agree with. Let me see if I can find some vote that I don't agree with. Again, when somebody is this good, she voted present on weapons for the Indo-Pacific region. Disgusting. I can't believe she wants a new Cold War. She was too cowardly to vote no against the evil Chinese, you know what I mean? To vote no against the Cold War. Oh, God, I hate her now. I can't believe she refused to vote against this bill that was one-sided, condemning Hamas for sexual violence. Oh, my God. Why? Well, she only voted present. How cowardly. Do you see what I mean? Like, do you see how stupid that would be? She voted present on affirming Israel's right to exist. I can't believe she didn't vote no. Like, the people don't treat Rashida Tlaib that way. Right? They don't go and look at her and go like, wow, I can't believe she voted badly on this. Why did she vote that Israel doesn't have a right to exist? Oh my God, I can't believe she voted in favor of, Rashida Tlaib voted in favor of stopping petroleum sales to Iran, China, North Korea, and Russia. Is that fixed? Is that fixed? No?
Care, the ability to bargain collectively as a union, again, part of your rights, the knowledge that your vote actually matters. Like, these are the things that politics should be transacted on. And it doesn't matter if you're a farmer who lives in the most rural part of town, or if you're queer and live in the city, you still need a good roof over your head. You still need good food that you can afford at a grocery store. You still need to see a doctor. And I want to protect everybody's rights so that queer individual in Detroit gets to love who they love and be who they are. But the important piece that I can really fight on is making sure that regardless of who you are, you got a roof over your head, you can afford your groceries, you can see a doctor. And I think that's the conversation we need to be having up and down the state. And it turns out that when you actually do that, you can win some people over.
Yeah, when we talked to Mangiani, he just said, well, I talked to New Yorkers and all they tell me is it's too expensive to live here. So I'm campaigning on fixing that. And, left-right spectrum didn't really enter into it. He's like, I'm a democratic socialist, but, I'm trying to freeze the rent. What about the current Democratic leadership? One of your opponents, Mallory McMorrow, recently said she was the only candidate in the race who had called for the ousting of Chuck Schumer. I don't know if...
Is my mic better? Is it working now? Or are we still roboted as fuck? Okay, cool. Why is he sweaty? Because he's a white man and he has lighting that's strong.
That's true how you feel about the current Senate Democratic leadership, or what mistakes they've made, or whether they need to.
Hassan made a great point. Leftists don't like AOC because she sounds like a liberal, acts like a woke, sounds like a lib. I think the main problem I would have with AOC is, and I think this is going to happen naturally, right? And this is kind of something that I'm banking on, which is they're going to start attacking her. They're going to start attacking her for her left-wing positions. And she has two possibilities. She could either cave, in which case she would lose her motive, like she would lose her support and would flame out horribly. Or she could do what Abdul El-Sayed did and what Zohran Mamdani did and fight back, right? Now, people are like, start. Well, the thing about AOC attacks is she's not being attacked by anybody really of note. There's kind of more of like a general background noise of anti-AOC bullshit, right? That's being boosted by people like Elon Musk. Anytime you're anti-AOC, you get boosted by bots from Elon Musk. People don't like to hear this. I'm not saying that all support a criticism of AOC is botted. I'm just saying that you will get some botted support for certain narratives that the platforms like. Go look at my TikTok. There's all sorts of weird Israel shit that gets posted on my TikTok feed now. Do you think I've ever engaged, watched through, liked, commented on any of this Israel shit? No. It's being pushed by the new owners of TikTok, the Ellisons. Pollster in the Michigan Senate race showing Abdul up 9 says that Hassan the Hun is the primary reason for a surge in the polls. Oh my God. The Democratic base is with the left. Sakat, how should wealthy candidates run? Crowd versus self-funding balance. I think he should spend as much money as he can on his own race. If I'm being completely honest with you, he should hire all of his staff, give them a heavy, fat salaries, spend the money on his own race. Like, that's honest to God the way the system works. Why should he take money from the movement? He should be like, donate to other people that need it. I don't. Shoykot, sorry. I always mispronounce his name. I'm terrible with names.
Should look to include him in their coalition. And here's the thing. You mentioned my book at the top. I just wrote a whole book that is going to come out in September. It is 300 pages. It's called How to Eat an Elephant One Voter at a Time. It is 300 pages about how you build a winning coalition. There's not a single paragraph that recommends cozying up to people like Hassan Piker. I talk a lot about big tents. I talk a lot about a pro-democracy coalition. But here's the thing. Hassan Piker doesn't actually belong in the pro-democracy coalition. I do not think any Democrat should look to include him in their coalition. And here's the thing. You mentioned my book at the top. I just wrote a whole book that is going to come out in September. It is 300 pages.
I'm sorry, chat. I don't know what else you could say. They're ideologically motivated. It's really just that simple. Like, she's not like that's the problem that we have as well. Like, the Democratic Party consultant class is ideologically motivated. They're not neutral. They're not even like good hacks, right? A hack would be someone that you hire and helps you win by any means necessary, but they're not. They are ideologically motivated, so they want to push you in a certain direction, and they work the numbers to give you the answer, neoliberalism good. Instead of going like, this is what you should do right now that would help you win, they are trying to push you in a certain ideological direction, which is fucking worthless. Because I could certainly imagine a scenario, right, where like there's broad-based growth and everybody's wages are going up and, everybody feels like they're successful and they want to keep a little bit more of their money and the government is well funded, where you could argue for a tax cut, right? I could imagine a hypothetical scenario where maybe that makes sense from a purely neutral perspective, right? It's not the world we live in now, but just imagine for a second, right? Where a neutral hack could tell you, hey, maybe a tax cut would make sense politically right now. She's not one of those people, right? She can't imagine where, hey, you should do Medicare for all and stop supporting Israel would be good politics. To her, that has to be no go before she asks one question of the voters. She has policies she thinks you cannot support. And they are so limiting and it's so right wing that she's actually damaging to the Democratic Party. It's one thing to be a fucking cowardly, worthless, centrist Zionist like Sarah Longwell, but it's another to try to prevent the Democratic Party from ever assuming any politics different than your own.
To be replaced.
Nathan, what you need to know is I'm the only candidate that Chuck Schumer wouldn't be okay with winning. So if you think the whole issue is one person, then yeah, okay. But if you think it's a system, ask yourself who that system opposes the hardest. And that's me. I've also said that the question itself is incoherent, because here's the issue. Let's say when I get elected, it's John Fetterman or Chuck Schumer. And now I've said, oh, I'm not going to support this one person and I'm going to support the other one? Hell no. So the only coherent answer to the question is, well, who do you support? And I've said very clearly that my number one pick for majority leader would be Senator Chris Van Hollen, who I think is phenomenal. I think he is an incredible legislator, and I would love to see him as Senate majority leader when we win. But barring telling me who you're supporting, it is a bit of a silly trick to try and break all of this down as if it's one man's responsibility and to put yourself in a position where you've unilaterally opposed one person without knowing who the other alternative is. So I'm telling you who I want my alternative to be and who I'm going to be supporting. And that should be the answer that you take, which is actually an answer to a coherent question, which is who do you support for Senate Majority Leader?
You must have thought a fair bit about, if you do get elected to the Senate, what your priorities should be in the Senate. One of the things that obviously a Democrat in the current Senate struggles with is that the Democrats don't have a majority. You have to do what you can with the available power that you have. Have you thought about, if you if you win in November, what you think your priorities as a senator, given the limits of what you'd be able to do, would be?
Money out of politics, money in your pocket, Medicare for all. Those are the big three goals that I will be fighting on every single day. Let's be clear. Even when we win the majority, inshallah, we will still have Donald Trump as president, and we will have to hold him accountable as far as we possibly can. Him, all of his acolytes, all of his appointees, everyone. We're going to have to hold them accountable. But we're also going to have to be fighting for a president who will fight to get money out of politics, put money in your pocket, and pass Medicare for all. And that is about persuasion. And I'll tell you this. I am going to be a senator from the state of Michigan. The state of Michigan is one of those key states that you cannot ignore on a presidential map. And so my point will be, of all the 150 people running for president, if you would like to succeed here in Michigan, I'm going to open up a path that is about a politics, that is about people. And if you would like my support, right? And
I can't wait for Abdul to get in the general election and challenge Mike Rogers to a bench press contest. I want to see the Republican nerdy loser trying to bench press against Abdul El-Sayed. We should lean into toxic masculinity against the Republicans. Did you see the non-binary numbers for Abdul? 100% support. Okay, that's a good tweet. Also, look at how El-Sayed is winning because of young men. Oh my God. Young men plus 13. They hate the bros so much. They hate the Bernie bros so much. There's actually, did it actually? Okay. I can't spell. What the fuck is wrong with my brain? Okay. What is wrong with my brain today? Two are non-binary emperors. Men generally not young. Well, this is overwhelmingly young men, right? This is overwhelmingly young men that are leading this. By the way, I'm about to say something that's going to piss some of the women in the chat off. On the far left, men tend to be more in favor of the far left. That's it starts to become a sausage fest again. Like you go, once you get past like social democracy, it becomes more of a sausage fest. Dudes rock. So this is actually a sign of our politics doing well. And I'm a communist mom. There are plenty of amazing communist women. There's plenty of amazing communist women. I'm just saying in the demographics currently, it becomes more of a sausage fest once you get beyond, once you start going more and more left. All right, let's keep going.
Then I hope that you
men
will.
are dumb enough to do the riskiest behavior, so at the extremes to get men. Well, yeah, because the far left is about violent revolution, so women don't tend to vibe with that. They don't tend to vibe with the violent social upheaval because, it is what it is.
Sound like me on the key issues that I'm fighting on, that we should be keeping our money here rather than sending it abroad to drop bombs on other people's kids, that we should be guaranteeing healthcare for everyone, that we cannot continue to be beholden to corporations in our politics. And I'm planning to go and have that conversation all over this country because I believe that we need to show Democrats what it looks like to persuade again. And I want to be doing that. So holding this administration accountable, trying to think about what are the bipartisan things we can do even in the setting where Donald Trump is still in the presidency, and then making sure that we are doing the persuasive work to elect a president who is willing to get money out of politics, put money in your pocket, and pass Medicare for all.
What about restraints on presidential power? Because, as you say, there is a way in which support for Israel is itself a domestic issue of what your tax dollars are going to. But there are other ways in which the president is just out of control in his use of executive power. We recently returned from Cuba, where the country is being strangled by a fuel blockade. People are really suffering there. Obviously, the Iran war, yes, incredibly costly, also devastating for Iranians. What about foreign policy? And what do you think the Senate's role in kind of trying to restrain or the kidnapping of the Venezuelan president? I mean, the president has been very aggressive in the use of U.S. military power abroad.
Yeah, I think this president is demonstrating a lot of the holes in the governance apparatus that is supposed to condition declarations of war and the power of the purse in Congress. And I think we need to be thinking about how we address and sew up some of those holes should there be a next Donald Trump who is, smarter than this one. And similarly, you think about like the presidential pardon power, right? The way that that's been abused. I think there's a lot that needs to happen over the next 6 years in the U.S. Senate to be able to condition the power of the presidency so that we are no longer in a situation where any one president can run amok with American foreign policy in ways that completely bypass the constitutional requirements that sit with Congress.
Well, we know you have a lot of events to get to, and I know that you probably have similar to what I saw when I was there in 2018, where you were doing 40 hours a week of calling people, trying to get campaign donations. A lot to get done. So we appreciate you giving us your time this morning to talk about your highly spoken about in the media increasingly campaign for the United States Senate in Michigan, Dr. Abdul El Sayed. Thank you for joining us.
No, Nathan, thank you so much for having me. And if you want to be a part of this campaign, I hope that you will. Go to abdulforsenate.com, chip us off $5, $10, buy me out of those hours of call time. Let me get out there and be out there talking to Michiganders. And if you want to get involved, I hope that you'll sign up to volunteer as well. Nathan, it's always great to spend some time. I hope that we get to see you on the campaign trail again this summer.
People should also follow you on social media because you're a little bit sassy.
Just a touch.
Thanks for watching. Just as a reminder, there's lots more great current affairs.
What an absolute king. I am so excited. I'm so fucking excited about how everything is we're winning completely. We are winning completely. This is total Mike from PA thought vindication from top to bottom. Total Mike from PA vindication from top to bottom. I got a message from a chatter over the night apologizing for falling for some of the weird parasocial attacks. And I just want to say, I appreciate you for saying that. I appreciate you for admitting that you were wrong. But the thing that's even more important is get into the trenches and help grow this space. That's my advice. If you feel bad about shitting on me, go and defend me. You know what I mean? Go and help grow this space. That's what I would like. Oh, by the way, chat, tomorrow we are going to be having, let me check my email. I haven't checked it for a day. Oh, fuck. That's a bad habit. I always try to check it multiple times a day, but I didn't check it yesterday. So yeah, Claire Valdez, DSA endorsed candidate in New York City, will be here tomorrow. One of the most prominent socialists, one of my followers. Claire will be here tomorrow. So, running in New York 7th District.
My name is Phil. I'm a truck driver for UPS.
My name is Helen. I work in reproductive rights.
It's been hard to save money.
Todo lo que es herramientas, maletas, todo lo que hacemos.
My rent went up $500 a month overnight.
I've talked about it myself, about whether you could have kids at all, purely in terms of how much money it would cost. Workers deserve it all. Not scraps, not promises, not someday, but now. The housing crisis, the healthcare crisis, the crisis of workers' rights. It isn't a personal failure by any individual. It's the success of a system designed to extract from working people while protecting the wealth and power of the billionaire class. It's the system that blankets the country in AI data centers instead of creating good-paying jobs. A system that ushered in union-busting Reaganism to pave the way for Donald Trump's fascism. A system that's collapsed democracy to usher in oligarchy. I'm Assemblymember Claire Valdez, and I'm running for Congress. Because deserving it all means fighting for it all. Housing for all, because in the wealthiest city, in the wealthiest country, one job should be more than enough to make rent. Medicare for all, because insurance and big pharma cartels should not control our economy. Unions for all, because as a union organizer, I believe you should be defined for the life you're meant to live and not the rights you're being stripped of. We will usher in a golden age of organized labor to battle back the new gilded age that is upon us. Our solidarity doesn't stop at the shop floor or a border. It means standing with Puerto Rico against colonial exploitation. It means opposing apartheid and genocide in Palestine. It means rejecting violent regime change in Venezuela while elites mine for oil. This year, Democrats across the country will take on MAGA fascists to win back the majority. But it is this district that will decide what that majority fights for. Everywhere, it's the same fight. Workers against a rigged system, protecting the wealth and power of the billionaire class. Those being pushed to the margins versus a belief that no one should be left behind. This campaign is about building power together. No worker, no organizer, no mayor can do it all alone. This campaign is a child of a movement. We will fight and campaign and grow and govern together. When workers organize, we don't just ask for justice. We demand it, and we win it. I'm Assemblymember Claire Valdez, a union organizer and democratic socialist running for Congress.
So Claire is going to be on tomorrow. Probably the most likely new socialist candidate in the country. So I'm excited. I'm excited for Claire to be here tomorrow. So we're going to do a little bit of an interview, a little bit of a fundraiser. So bring your wallet. Bring your wallet. I'm going to as well. I mean, I've already donated, but I'll donate more. Brad Lander looks like he's going to win against Dan Goldman, who's one of the biggest Zionists in the country. I'm not the biggest Brad Lander fan, but whatever. Yay, liberal Zionism. Although, yay, J Street, yay, boo. Like this great article on the new poll. They say Assad has repeatedly denounced. Abdul El Sayed has taken a commanding lead in the Michigan U.S. Senate race as McMorrow and Stevens trail. Oh my God. What a day. Did I promise you good vibes? Have I delivered on good vibes? Have we achieved the impossible? A good vibe day? New poll finds Abdul El Sayed, I can say it, surging in Michigan U.S. Senate race. The Bernie Sanders backed candidate says voters want change for the Democratic Party. Ladies and gentlemen, the AOC, she better endorse soon or she's going to be seen as the Johnny come lately. I'm leading canvases every weekend until August for Fran. I just want to say for good vibes, literally no one else has the grand game we do. Yeah, I think you guys have a good shot at winning the primary. Problem is the Democratic Party is going to fucking stab you in the back. So that's the one thing you know, we gotta get you across the finish line. Have you been working with National DSA? Just recently saw someone claiming to be co-chair for the DSA SF. They said they're refusing to get involved in the Sakat race because he did come and beg for their endorsement. I feel like this behavior is hurting DSA as a whole. I mean, here's my general feeling. I was going to say neutral in that race until Connie Chan said that Hassan was anti-Semitic or racist or sexist or whatever the fuck bullshit she said. So now I'm a Sakat supporter. She negatively polarized me against her by spreading RNC lies. So fuck her. And I hope she loses. And by the way, that's my new policy going forward. You're allowed to disagree with me. That's totally fine. But the moment you spread slander against me, Hassan, or any of the other like online left space people for bigotry or shit, I'm not going to pretend like that's valid. I'm going to see you as an enemy. I'm going to treat that as this person is advocating for our deplatforming. Because if you're saying that Hassan is an anti-immigrant racist, you're trying to get us deplatformed. And you're doing it for your own gain. Fuck you. And I'm not going to pussyfoot around. Again, it doesn't mean that I'm God and I'm never wrong. It just means that if somebody is leading with the conclusion that I'm some sort of bigot or Hassan some sort of bigot, that's fucking insane. She claimed he's anti-Chinese. Looking at the wall of cope. Oh yeah, the Mish voter blocked me because I kept making fun of his Mallory McMorrow support. The general election poll is a name recognition thing. Rogers just ran against Slotkin in 2024. Everybody knows who he is. Nobody knows who the other candidates are. This is a name recognition thing. And there's a lot of like butthurt nature of a contested primary, which is why everybody that's why there's no difference really between the candidates. I can't believe you have an audience of retards. Everyone that likes this incel is truly lost. This is the way that the people that don't like me talk. Called a bad bitch PR. This is how they talk. By the way, it's so funny that people write this type of stuff because it's like obviously not true. And it's usually a self-report, right? It's a self-report. It's a complete self-report. One, it means you never watch my stream and you have absolutely no idea my lived reality. But you came in here to insult me on something that isn't even like, you know what I mean? Like, damn, dude, you just have to watch my stream for like one day and you know it's not true. But the sex pestity morons and the Asmongold morons, they write this shit in the chat. Does it make you feel good? Bro, we know you can't get anything. Like, let's be honest, dude. Let's be fucking honest. No videos, nothing, just a fake account. Boring. You know it's one of them because it lays on the stupid. Yeah, I know. It's just like, come on, come up with a better argument. It's like boring. So was it us attacking Hassan Piker in a Wall Street Journal op-ed, or you elevating him on stage on your pod that has moved the voters of Michigan, John? The third way bump. Well, Matt, considering he was on our stage a year ago and then appeared recently only in response to your op-ed, as well as your press stunt where you called on Abdul to condemn Piker and pulled Mallory into the controversy as well, you tell me what is more likely. Just glad you guys are having an impact and focused on what's important. Oh, come on. You featured him. You don't think it's important that Dem's not campaigning with people with vile views? We disagree. And we didn't pull Mallory into anything. She joined Stevens and Slotkin in saying that El Sayed should campaign with him. She was right to do it. What's a more vile view? Supporting the genocide in Gaza or saying that every American deserves health insurance or health care? And also, is he really saying that 80% of Democratic voters under the age of 45 are vile? But again, John Favreau blocked me because I made fun of the Pod Johns a few years ago. They got really mad because it went minorly viral. I'll show you it. Hold on. Let me show you. Let me show you this. Hold on. Let me get over to the advanced search. Mentioning from this is before I streamed, by the way. Oh, maybe I wasn't mentioning John Favreau. Pod save. These Pod Save America guys are fucking great. They rode the Jason Kander train into the ground. Now it's time to pump out the last little drop of value from Beto. God damn, I was accurate. When a Pod Save guy has a good take, he has a good take. Republicans are setting up for an apartheid-style fake democracy. Oh, hey, guys, look. I predicted everything the Republicans were going to do in 2021. 42 likes. Remember how the Pod Save America guys convinced Beto to ditch another Senate run to make this humiliating run for president? Advised Warren to take a DNA test and advanced Kirsten Gillibrand as a top-tier candidate? These were the top minds of the Obama administration. This is before I streamed, by the way. So I've been blocked since before I streamed. Hammond Fist, thank you for the 20 bomb. Hell yeah. W Gifter. Anyway, so that's why John Favreau blocked me. By the way, I was right. You guys suck. What do you want me to say? You want me to pretend you're good? This is the result of the Pod Save guys. This is why we'll never have a Gen X president. We'll never have a Gen X president. All right, let's read this amazing article. It finds El Sayed has emerged as the race's clear frontrunner with 28% of support ahead of both Haley Stevens and Mallory McMorrow. The best part of this is, chat, they're both at the same number. So they can't tell the other person to drop out. They're both at like the same exact number. So they're both going to be like, why should I drop out? No, you drop out. No, you drop out. No, you drop out. And they can't find a reason to drop out, right? Because some polls are going to have Stevens ahead. Some are going to have McMorrow ahead. And this is like the ideal. We want to split the centrist vote. And this is awesome because McMorrow was doing this like, I'm a progressive too, fake progressive bullshit. But the fact that she's been caught as a, pro-Zionist, fake progressive, she's now just splitting the centrist vote. That's so awesome. For too long, too many Michiganders have felt like no one in our politics sees that. It's so awesome that he didn't become governor. I'm so happy he wasn't governor. Holy shit. Can you imagine had he been governor? Oh, God. He would be so unpopular because he would have had to defend Kamala Harris and Joe Biden's terrible presidency. This is so fucking awesome. By the way, being a senator is better than being a governor. Fuck being a governor. Unless there's already an amazing president, fuck being a governor, because then otherwise that sucks shit. Why? Because the way America works is that the state level and the local level are heavily constrained by the levels above them. So they're like policies that you can enact as a governor are highly limited by federal policy. So the only way being a mayor or being a governor is a good time is when you have somebody who's ideologically aligned on the left already above you, allowing you and permitting you to actually do exciting policy. Because if you get elected as like a socialist governor, the problem with that is that you're going to be heavily constrained by the president and the Congress. they're going to be targeting you and going like, you can't do this, you can't do that, we're going to take your funding away. And it's going to result in like your state's finances being fucking heavily imperiled because our government is heavily funded by federal money. So in order for like there to be a local politicians like socialists being effective, they have to be able to exert power over the higher levels of government. That's why I was like, Zoran running for mayor is like, that's going to put him in a difficult position. First of all, being a mayor sucks because everything that's wrong with the city gets blamed on you. And the second thing is you're heavily constrained by the state and federal government. So if like Zoran is able to do good shit as a mayor with a centrist Democrat as the governor and a fucking Republican president, he's the goat of all goats. For too long, too many Michiganders have felt like no one in our politics sees them, hears them, or is willing to fight for them. This campaign has always been about changing that. I am deeply grateful to every Michigander who has shared their story, come to an event, volunteered, or taken a chance on this campaign. This momentum belongs to the folks who built it. It follows weeks of attacks from rivals, the centrist Democratic establishment, and the mainstream media over El Sayed's decision to campaign with Hassan Piker, a popular left-wing streamer and vocal critic of U.S. support for Israel who some have accused of anti-Semitism. Piker has repeatedly denounced anti-Semitism. The attacks appear to have backfired spectacularly. It is very clear that one of the most important factors in El Sayed's movement up into the polls is the support he is receiving from far-left progressives who very strongly oppose the United States and Israeli intervention in both Gaza and Iran. His support really bumped up after the endorsement by Hassan Piker. It will be interesting to see whether this is enough support to allow him to win. And the Zionists are split so bad. This is like the ideal situation. We are living in the ideal situation because liberal Zionists are like, well, we got to vote for Valerie McMorrow and be sneaky, right? We got to be sneakily supporting Valerie McMorrow. She's on our side, but she's sneaky about it. And the conservative Zionists are like, Israel above everybody. You must worship Israel. How dare you conceal your support for Israel? Israel should dominate the world. And so they're never going to support Mallory McMorrow because she requires them to be a little bit quieter in their racism. So it's like the ideal situation because if it was only one choice, the liberal Zionists would quietly vote for Stevens, right? Because she supports Israel and that's their number one issue, right? If somebody is a Zionist, Zionism is their number one issue. I want you not to be confused about this. I'm going to explain something to you. If somebody is a Zionist, Israel above everything is their primary motivation. Every other issue can be thrown into the dumpster for Zionism, okay? If somebody at this point in 2026 is still identifying as a Zionist, they hate you and they want you subjugated to Israel. El Sayed, who was born in Detroit to Egyptian immigrants, has criticized U.S. aid to Israel and his involvement in the wars in the Middle East. A doctor and medical school graduate from the University of Michigan, he also supports the creation of a universal healthcare system in the U.S. known as Medicare for All. He has pledged to refuse corporate donations to his campaign, which has large grassroots support. The poll found El Sayed leading among both men and women, especially with young people among ages 18 to 44. El Sayed, 80%, leads Stevens 4% and McMorrow 3%. The same poll found McMorrow leading El Sayed and Stevens among 46 to 64-year-olds. Boo! Gen Z and boomers. Boo! Boo! Although Gen X loves McMorrow and boomers love Stevens. I'm like so happy right now, man. I'm so fucking happy right now. Holy shit, millennials and Gen Z are united. Oh my God, millennials and Gen Z are united. Holy shit. The poll also found voters support Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson for governor. Blah, blah, blah. El Sayed is campaigning for the U.S. Senate seat held by Democrat Gary Peters. What a fucking... Oh my God, this is in the Detroit Metro Times. They didn't... Oh, hell yeah, brother. Oh, hell yeah. We just keep fucking winning. All right, chat. Moving on to the... We're going to keep talking about this. But Donald Trump is going to China.
的国家之一仍面临着饥饿的困扰。在这个国家，尽管食品供应过剩，却仍有4900万美国人在挨饿。许多人无力负担健康的食物来提升生活品质。帮助美国，从现在开始。
Crystal Ball, what does she say? Actually insane. Hey, Crystal follows me. I didn't notice that. That's new. That's new. I never noticed. She didn't used to follow me, I don't think. All right. Look at that. We're worming our way in. We're worming our way in. She'll come to steal your take. I mean, guys, if people are stealing my takes, that's fine, as long as they also are nice to me and promote me. Because you can milk me for my best takes, but you still got to come back to the source, right? The thing is, I don't have an austerity mindset. I know that the better Hassan does, the better I'm going to do, right? Like, that's just the reality. Like, I understand that deeply. Like, he is the most popular left winger in America, and he's my friend. Like, the better he does, the better I'm going to do. That's just a fact. And like, there's a lot of power to be shared in this country. I'll get my share. The more power he is, the more it's going to flow down to me. Actual trickle down. Is this Cope from you Mish Voter? Yes. Dire team blasting. Okay, that's not what we're going to talk about. All right, fine.
By the way, this is a profile piece. This is not a gotcha piece, right?
Well, look, I think these questions are fair. It's in order to learn about you as a candidate.
So long as it's about the profile.
I don't know how you define profile, but I'd like to begin the interview.
The way I describe profile is you talk about all the things that I've done, things I want to do, and along with some tough questions. But not only tough questions. By the way,
God, these fucking entitled centrists get treated so gently by the media. They're so entitled, and they know it because they're corporate whores. Like, they know what they're doing. Is this a bit? No, this is how they are. All right, it's time for us. It's time for us. China dominating the U.S. militarily. CIA. I gotta be honest with you, chat, that this is insane. This is an insane article from somebody who basically, if you want to know who Max Boot is, his name is Max Boot because he Max licks the boot. He's probably one of the most neocon right political commentator. He thinks America should be invading countries every day. Okay? His name is literally correct. He is boot maxing, swallowing, deep throating the boot. What a former CIA analyst reveals about the potential China fight. An interview with John Culver, an authority on China's military. John Culver is one of the world's most foremost authorities on the Chinese military, a subject he began studying as a CIA analyst in 1985. From 2015 to 2018, he served as National Intelligence Officer for East Asia. Now, so basically what we're trying to say is, this guy is American intelligence's leading expert and analyst on China, all right? So he is not somebody who is pro-China. He's not. In fact, he hates China. He's studying China to figure out how to defeat China. Okay? So when he says this, you can believe it because it's against America's interest to admit this shit. Okay? It's against America's interest to admit that China is more powerful than the United States. Except for one thing, to try to convince America to copy China more so that we could build up our own power. Since retiring from the CIA in 2020, he has been a non-resident senior fellow at the Brookings Institution. So this is the intelligence. The way America works is we have our formal intelligence operations, but we also have these prestigious think tanks that hire people when they're outside of government, right? So there's like the government work, and there's this revolving door with these like think tanks and institutes that are basically cat's paws for the CIA. When the CIA wants to say something, but they can't say it as, you know, an official statement of the CIA, they'll often use these people as cutouts. So this is basically, there's no way to say this, but this is an official CIA panic. This is the CIA sending up a panic flare going, China's too powerful. It's too powerful for us. That's what's happening here. In advance of the summit between President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping, I spoke with Culver about China's military capabilities and what lessons the People's Liberation Army is drawing from the U.S. conflict with Iran. The conversation has been edited and condensed. Now, this is the type of stuff if you want to know why I know what I'm talking about, chat, like why my analysis seems to be more accurate than other people's, it's because I'm constantly reading shit like this. I'm listening to conversations between the Joint Chiefs of Staff. I'm reading pronouncements from the Brookings institutions. I'm reading think tanks from China. I'm looking at nerd shit. I'm looking at James and stuff that you don't need to know about, really. Okay, you can just cognitively offload your takes onto me. It'll be fine. You'll find yourself smart. All right, but they're about to say, like, if you've been listening to me talk about the Iranian war for a while, they're about to agree with everything that I've been saying for months. So just prepare yourself for another Mike from PA vindication article. If you only link this 20 more times, I'm going to interrupt what I'm doing in order to change the subject. Okay, let's keep going. I opened the link on my other monitor. You don't have to link it anymore. All right. Could you briefly summarize how China's military has changed since the 1980s? It's hard to not be hyperbolic when you talk about the transformation from the force that I just saw, which was equipped largely with Korean and some Vietnam War era gear. Today, it's hard to point to an area other than submarines and undersea warfare and say the United States still has an advantage. I don't think we have an advantage in missiles, space, cyber, reconnaissance, etc. I think they are leading us in some categories such as air-to-air missiles, surface-to-air missiles, and counter space capabilities and electric warfare. Oh my God! If you guys saw recently, chat, there was a skirmish between the Pakistani military and the Indian military. And you may not know this, but Pakistan has always had a close alliance or relationship with China. Ironically, Pakistan is one of the few countries that has a close relationship with the United States and a close relationship with China. And a lot of the Pakistani military is Chinese equipment. Well, using some of the last generation fighter jets, the Pakistani Air Force scored massive victories over Indian Air Force using Chinese technology. They shot recent satellite imagery and expert analysis have revealed a major setback for the Indian Air Force. This may be a little bit propagandy, but there was a lot of, why is this not reported? What the fuck is going on? Jesus Christ. It's like the Western media is burying this story. Jesus. So all you get is weird spam shit. Oh my God. Okay, here we go. Jesus Christ. India acknowledges shoot-down of its jets by Pakistan during May battles. This was last year. 6 Indian aircraft were shot down. Basically, using the Chinese... I'm actually going to lose my mind about how the West buries these stories. It's holy fucking Christ. Thank you. Did Pakistan shoot down 5 Indian fighter jets? What we know. 4 days after India and Pakistan reached a ceasefire after a rapid escalation of military conflict between them, key differences between their battlefield claims remain unresolved. Among them is Pakistan's assertion that it shot down 5 Indian fighter jets on May 7th, the first day of the fighting. They used Chinese fighter jets and, this is more important, Chinese air-to-air missiles to shoot from beyond visual range and then use AWACS to guide the fucking air-to-air missiles all the way to Indian targets. So a capability that very few countries have demonstrated. He stated the confrontation. So the Chinese JF-17s and J-10s shot down Eurofighters and other Western designs. Damn it, this is so fucking annoying. Anyway, the thing that should jump off the page at you is how many advanced munitions they're building. Magnitudes greater than our industrial base could produce. The Chinese have one shipyard that builds more than all of our shipyards combined. They deploy enough ships every year to replicate the entire French Navy. If reports are true that we expend a huge portion of our long-range strike and theater missile defense capability fighting Iran, then we don't have anywhere near the inventory that we would need for a China fight. The response that you hear from the U.S. military is, well, sure, they've got the quantity, but we have the quality. Is that still true? It's true that the Chinese haven't fought a war since 1979, but it's also true that the U.S. hasn't fought anything like up here since 1945. First of all, how insane is America, where not fighting a war for 60 years is considered to be bad? How fucking lunatic warmongering of a nation do you have to be like, oh, haha, you haven't fought a war for 46 years, you fucking losers. Ha, 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 ha. 47 years. Man, you should be out there fighting more unnecessary wars of choice. See how it's worked out for us? And by the way, the United States fought China. And you know what the result of fighting China was? You know what the result of fighting China and the Korean War? I'll show you. And again, this is when China had just won a civil war, was one of the 5 poorest countries in the world. and the Marines suffered their worst defeat in American history. So anyway, the U.S. was fought to a standstill in the Korean War. That's the last time we fought China. And the Marines suffered their worst defeat in their history, which is the Battle of the Chosin Reservoir. In fact, there's even a quote from the Marine general in charge. He said, we're not retreating, we're advancing in a different direction. It was the greatest evacuation movement by sea in U.S. military history. Now, a lot of Americans get very butthurt over this, but it is what it is, right? Here you can see the battle. You see how the arrows with the American troops, the blue arrows, they do this thing where they turn around and then they start running. That's not a good thing for winning. That's a sign that you're not winning. So if China wants to get into a counterinsurgency war, we'd have a clear advantage since that's where most of our experience has been in the last 20 years. But in terms of war at sea and in the air, I wouldn't give either side much of an edge. I think the U.S. focuses on the Chinese invasion of Taiwan because that's the scenario we are most confident we could defeat. That's about sinking ships, and we can be pretty good at that. More troublesome is if it's a punitive campaign by the Chinese that doesn't expose their forces to a direct strike by the United States unless we're willing to bomb mainland China. What do you mean by punitive campaign? It's the kind of campaign that the Chinese have conducted more often than not every time the PLA has gone to war. When you want to look back at the Indian border in 1962, or the war with Vietnam in 1979, or various pressure campaigns against Taiwan, the goal isn't to seize territory, it's to deliver a punishing blow against the adversary. In a Taiwan scenario, they could pretty quickly seize islands controlled by Taiwan off China's coast. It could carry out large-scale strikes on Taiwan, destroy much of its military and industrial capacity, attempt to kill Taiwan's political and military leadership. The threat then to Taiwan, and then indirectly to the United States, is that if a war starts, Taiwan's going to be finished as a semiconductor producer. Which, by the way, would just be China stealing the tactics the United States played against Iran, right? The United States attacked the civilian leadership of Iran with a dastardly sneak attack, including killing their families. So if China did the same thing to Taiwan, how could we possibly object? We've demonstrated that it's permissible. That's a pretty devastating threat, given that Taiwan makes 90% of the most advanced semiconductors, right? Plus, in any conflict scenario, you're going to take most of Asia offline. So it's just not, isn't just a direct economic effects from the end of Taiwan semiconductor manufacturing. The ability for merchant ships and aircraft to transit through the Western Pacific is suddenly at risk. So take the Strait of Hormuz problem and expand that by several fold to encompass the South China Sea all the way to the Strait of Malacca and all of Northeast Asia, including all of Japan and South Korea's ports. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth brags about all the targets the U.S. is hitting in Iran. Is that something that concerns the Chinese? They've invested a tremendous amount in air defenses. Probably the best defended airspace in the world, other than the Moscow area, is the stretch of the Chinese coast from the Hunan Island up to Beijing. I think what really gives them confidence is that this is not a new way of war. You can go back to Desert Storm in 1991 or Operation Iraqi Freedom in 2003, and the U.S. is still following the same tradecraft where we forward deploy aircraft into the region. Iran does not have a very capable long-range strike systems, but still, according to the Washington Post, the Iranians managed to hit at least 228 U.S. targets in the Mideast. If the U.S. thinks it's going to build up its air forces in advance of a campaign against China, we're going to be putting eggs into some fairly fragile baskets. Okay, Hermes, are you okay? If we're going to deploy advanced aircraft to Japan, Australia, or perhaps South Korea, China could do something about all of those in a way that Iran really can't. What about U.S. aircraft carriers? This is the funniest cope. U.S. aircraft carriers would be sunk immediately. There has been a long time debate in the Pentagon where Air Force officials have called the Navy a self-licking popsicle, whose the resources required to defend aircraft carriers actually is greater than what they bring to the fight, aka the self-licking popsicle. And in a scenario against a near-peer competitor, they would be so far out of the theater of operations that they would require extensive Air Force refueling support for their planes to even be part of the fight. So they're basically useless except for bullying poor countries that don't have a military. And so, like, and God forbid they actually got sunk. It would be one of the it would be an Iwo Jima level catastrophe if an aircraft carrier got sunk. One ship. These things are dumber than dirt. They're a massive waste of money. And again, they're not used for fighting other major countries. They're used for projecting power against small countries. The problem for aircraft carriers to be combat relevant, we would have to win at least contested air capability within about 1,000 miles of the combat zone. There's really no safe spaces. The Chinese track our aircraft carriers every hour of every day. I think some of the thinking in the Pentagon, and it may have evolved since I retired, is that when we think there's going to be a war, we need to get our high-value naval assets out of the theater. And then we would have to fight our way back in. From where is not clear. Guam is no bastion either. I want to remind you, chat, that we're spending $1.5 trillion on the military. We're starving our own people. We don't have health care. We don't have infrastructure. We have poor schools. Our environment is being degraded. We're not setting up for the renewable energy economy of the future. We're not investing in high technology. We can't produce our own chips. Our electric vehicle competitors are so inferior to China, we have to ban them from competing. And now we're saying we can't even hold Japan. Then why are we investing many billions of dollars into more aircraft carriers or even now into Trump-class battleships? I think the military services have a nostalgia for the things that meet their expectations for how you get promoted. I don't know if there's a career track yet for drone operator that could get you an admiral's star. All right, chat. I'm sorry for taking a moment because I was laughing and I'm trying to formulate how I could explain this to all of you. Okay. So as you know, I come from a military family. And one of the things that I understand, because it's what my family was, is understanding military culture. And so what he's saying here, the CIA analyst is admitting, is that the American military culture is so machismo focused that they're so unprofessional that if you are somebody that promotes, say, like drone warfare or missiles, you're considered to be a weenie and a dweeb. And so your career you cannot advance your career. And that only guys who fly the big jets and the big bombers and the big aircraft carriers are the ones who get promoted. So there's such a cultural problem in the US military that they're promoting inferior weapon systems instead of the superior weapon systems that are more economically viable, more militarily powerful, because they're not macho enough. They're not macho enough. And it's such a cultural problem that literally people know that if I become a drone guy, I cannot become an admiral or a general. We are so fucking cooked. It's not even funny. Meanwhile, the opposite is true in China. For example, if you watch the Chinese military parade, the military parade that China did celebrating the defeat of fascism. This was the military parade that China did last year for the 80th celebration of the victory over fascism. China actually had a number of formations that were being created for new types of warfare. See if I can find it. I want to say, like, this is their navy.
Now coming is the Navy formation. Breaking the waves and navigating to the deep blue, the PLA Navy has comprehensively strengthened its maritime deterrent and combat capabilities to safeguard peace and stability at the sea, moving fast to become a world-class naval force.
No, this isn't it. I don't want to skip ahead because I don't remember. I think this might be it. Or is this the Air Force? It's the Air Force, isn't it?
Coming up next is the Air Force formation. Building a strong Air Force has been the unremitting pursuit of the party and the people. Taking off in times of wars and sharpening its edge through battles, the PLA Air Force is making great strides towards integrating air and space capabilities and coordinating offensive and defensive operations.
Now under inspection is the Rocket Force formation.
Okay, there you go. Rocket Force formation. Notice how they have elevated the rockets. This is what I was looking for. They elevated the Rocket Force to a new level of importance where they're not holding it below the Air Force. They're not holding it below the Navy. They're like saying, no, being a rocket, that's just as important as the other elements. And they are giving that pride of place in the parade, which is a signal of their military culture. And like, you know, there's a lot of cultural things they show, like, right? Like, you know, for example, feminism is very important to the Chinese military.
The Army and the people are the foundation of victory. Now marching forward is the militia formation. The militia women are from the major wartime counter-Japanese base areas across China. During the War of Resistance, Chinese people, regardless of their gender or ages, acted as one in safeguarding their homes. The red genes have passed on from one generation to another. In the new era, the militia forces provide backup services during peaceful time.
China has been contributing to maintaining world peace. The peacekeeping force formation is marching towards us. China is the largest troop-contributing country for peacekeeping among the permanent members of the UN Security Council. Having participated in UN peacekeeping operations for 35 years, the Chinese peacekeeping forces have confronted daunting challenges and fulfilled their missions. The forces have guarded world peace without hesitating to sacrifice their lives, and demonstrated through their action how China assumes its responsibility as a major power, making great contributions to building a community with a shared future for humanity.
Fuck, I found my old tweet. Oh my god. I was comparing some of the women marching to America. Yeah, you know, obviously feminism is a very key part of socialism, so it's always very prominent in the Chinese military displays. As opposed to America, where we're now degrading and firing people for... They actually fired a bunch of women and people of color. It's like military fires women generals and admirals. This is just a story from yeah, military women recently sacked. Yeah, this was a story that from earlier this year. Pete Hegseth has been firing women and stopping the promotions of black and female soldiers and officers. So you can kind of see the difference between the Chinese perspective and the US perspective, right? Like showing how important women are to the history of the Chinese military, talking about peacekeeping and the United Nations and world peace. right? Meanwhile, the United States is doing this like this is like actually racist and actually sexist, right? Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth intervened to stop the promotions of several high-ranking service members, including 4 Army officers, 2 black men, and 2 female soldiers, on track to become 1-star generals. Hegseth made the highly unusual move of interfering in the regular promotion process. Hegseth has been weeding out senior officers who are deemed ideologically incompatible. So basically, far right, if you're not a far right Nazi and you don't worship Trump, you're getting fired. So that's part of why America, like, sorry for this long aside, but do you see how being a drone operator, there's not a career track to get an admiral star for being a drone operator? The most important military technology in the last 50 years that's been developed is drone weapons. And in our military, being a drone expert is not good for your career. We are fucking cooked if we ever fought China. And thank God that we're like, thank God our military is this stupid, because I don't want us to fight a fucking world war with China and lose. Does the Trump administration's $1.5 trillion defense budget, assuming it's approved, change the trend lines? It would probably help to some extent, but I worried that it could be throwing good money after bad. What we need to do is harden our deployed forces so they can withstand a first strike from China, and then we need to build more munitions that we think is even sane. The consumption rate of these very expensive systems is just astounding. Whichever side runs out of bullets first is going to lose. The United States can never compete against China on this level. They have 120 million manufacturing jobs. We have 10. They have the most advanced manufacturing technology and mechanisms and automation engineering. They are way ahead of us in productive capability. We can never compete. It's not close. What? And luckily for us, China is a peaceful nation. Why are you trying to provoke them? Why are you trying to wake the sleeping giant? It makes absolutely no fucking sense. It's like when Japan bombed Pearl Harbor. All they did is hasten their own defeat. Stop it. Stop it. What has China done to the United States that has been aggressive? Sell us products we want for cheap and accept our worthless US dollars as payment that we print? I mean, we don't even go through, we don't even do the thing where we print the money. We just do an increment in a server somewhere. We make 1 0 into a 1 in some fucking like database. We're not even dragging paper through a printer before we do it. They're giving us all of these resources and all of these finished goods, and we give them dollars, worthless greenbacks, backed by nothing. And we're trying to destroy that relationship. Fucking insane. You want to destroy America? That's how you do it. By the way, chat, I just realized something. We are 3 hours into the stream and I have not chilled. If you enjoy this content, please consider supporting it by subscribing. If you're on YouTube, subscribe and hit the notification bell. Right now we have a hype train, the top sub gifter and the top bit donor get hype train conductor badge. And we've got brand new emotes, chat. We've got brand new unlockable emotes, including Serval Bop. There's it appears that we've got all sorts of Maya related emotes in the unlockable emotes. Maya has gotten all, there's the Georgie Marsh, there's the Winnie Huh, we've got the Emu Load, we have Endler Love. There's a whole bunch of Maya inspired emotes. What the fuck? Let's get a hype train and get everybody these emotes. What are you doing? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the top sub gifter, top bit donor, get those conductor badges next to their name. You can participate in the hype train by subbing, resubbing, using your Prime sub, gifting at least 1 sub, or at least 200 bits. If you participate in the hype train, you will get one of these amazing limited time subs. It looks like Winnie Huh is what we're currently unlocked. Winnie Huh. Does anybody have it? It's pretty cute. What the fuck? Twitch never has emotes this good. Does anyone have it? What the fuck is an emoji? That's so true. What the hell? This thing is so awesome. What is Mike talking about? The new emotes in the hype train. If you click on the hype train, they will show you what emote we're getting. If you participate in the hype train by subbing, resubbing, gifting a sub, giving at least 200 bits, you will get the Winnie Huh. And I'm interrupting my China talk for this, so you know it's important. It's from Winnie the Moo. It's such a good emote. What the fuck? Hey, Mike, can I add onto the good vibe pile today with a brag about my small town in New Jersey successfully defeating an illegal data center that the mayor and local government was trying to sneak in and gaslight the community about? We were only able to stop it through community organizing and solidarity. Hell yeah. Congratulations. Thank you, everybody, for all the gifts. Let's fucking go. Get that Winnie. Get that Winnie emote. I'm excited. I'm going to get a Winnie emote. Winnie is like so beautiful, but I was scared that they might try to sacrifice her because she's a red heifer. And I'm like, I'm scared that Winnie has black hairs, right? Like Winnie's not completely red, right? She's not a perfect red heifer, right? Hide Winnie. The Zionists are trying to murder her. Maya would never allow that. Well, yeah, no shit, but they would kidnap her if she was a perfect red heifer. Oh my god, she is.
Hi. Who is it? Dean, this is Winnie the Moo.
Big girl.
Is she bigger than?
Okay,
she's
wait,
the same
wait.
size,
She might
right?
have some black hairs. She might have some black hairs. Oh, thank God.
Is last
She
time
looks
you
a
were here?
little bit smaller.
Smaller.
Yeah.
She shouldn't be smaller.
How old is she?
3-ish. 3 is gonna be 3 in March.
Yeah, how heavy is she right now?
700, 800 pounds.
Damn! I deadlift that.
Cows produce methane, and because we have so many cattle on the planet to meet the global demand for beef.
I don't think they naturally produce methane, right? I think the cows, they produce methane because they get like corn diets, right? It's like, I think it's based on their diet. Their diet is like bad for them, so they fart a lot. But if you give them like natural feed, they don't produce nearly as much. It's because we use like corn and shit. They're like farting more. Also, I heard that there was a way of like inoculating cows so they don't fart. Like there's like anti-methane vaccines and shit. I don't
It's
know, I'm
affecting
not an
our
expert
climate.
on
So if you
cattle.
guys don't know where to start, a good first step is to eat less beef.
How much would you cut it down by?
As much as you can.
She's the best.
Yeah, she just
I
has.
love beef though. It's by far and away my least defensible position. Beef is my favorite meat. It's my least defensible position. Beef is mid. Anytime somebody says beef is mid, it's a class thing. It's a class thing. No one gave you good beef. You've been lied to. You've been lied to. You've been lied to. You have had bad beef poorly prepared. I mean, not liking burger is already unhinged as fuck, but like beef is insanely good. Like, sorry. I never had amazing beef. I have had amazing beef and I still prefer chicken. We're not going to have this debate. We're not going to have this debate. Let's go back to China is destroying us on the military side. Can we? Also, Winnie is absolutely gorgeous. What the hell? That's like the cutest cow ever. The fuck? I thought she was red. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about with the red heifer, it's this really creepy belief that extremely far-right, ultra-Orthodox Jews are trying to look for a perfect red heifer that doesn't have any non-red hairs so they could sacrifice them to bring back, to like dedicate the new temple and destroy the Dome of the Rock. And it's some really creepy, super religious bullshit. And also the alt-right has glommed onto it and made it into a really bad conspiracy theory. Anyway, it's very silly. Did you hear about the mayor in Arcadia being accused of being a CCP agent? Yes, I did hear about that. I did hear about that. I did hear about that. They've got Max. I've heard all the arguments that Max is stupid, but I don't care. I still want to run. China, drop me a bet. January 6th part 2, I'm sorry, Chad. I was just saying that China should give me a mech, and then we'll do January 6th part 2, and then I'll punch through the Capitol doors with my mech. Where is Ted Cruz? This is all in a video game. Notice Metal Gear Solid. That's so fucking cool. They have mechs now. Anyway, back to the story about how we can never beat them in a war. What about the Pentagon's plans to... Hey, everybody, spam your Winnie huh. Everyone spam your Winnie huh. Spam it. Isn't it cute? If you didn't participate in the hype train, you don't get one. Aha. Aha. You were cheap, so you don't get it. And now you're not going to get it from me because you missed your chance. All right. What about the Pentagon's plans to turn the Taiwan Strait into a hellscape using drones and missiles to target a Chinese invasion fleet? Sounds cool. It probably designed to intimidate the Chinese and make the thing twice. And that's always a good idea. The problem is, what drones are you talking about launching from where? You would have to pre-deploy them, if not on Taiwan itself, on Luzon or on Japanese Southwest Islands, all of which can be struck by the Chinese. That's the tyranny of time and distance when you look at a war in the Pacific. How do you think the Chinese are looking at the dual blockades of the Strait of Hormuz by the U.S. and Iran? And what about what that means for the Chinese potential to blockade Taiwan? The Taiwan Strait is 100 miles wide. Strait of Hormuz is only 21 miles, so there are major differences. But I think the one lesson that the Chinese might draw is that because of the advances in anti-ship capability and the dynamics of human nature to avoid risk, there's real power being the side that's trying to impede shipping rather than to enable it. A lot of the effect of a blockade is the impact on shipping insurance and the willingness of freight haulers to go into a war zone. China can create a lot of chaos and cut off almost all shipping into Taiwan just by declaring a blockade. They have multiple ways to enforce that. They could also strike all of Taiwan's port handling facilities. So you can send your giant replenishment ships in and there'll be nowhere to offload. What would or should the U.S. do in such a scenario like that? And this, ladies and gentlemen, is what I had a disagreement with Kat Abu Ghazaleh about. Kat was like, we should send the United States Navy to fight the Chinese if they do this. And I was like, that's fucking insane. I think the lesson is mostly try to avoid that scenario. I wonder when Americans might start to... It's crazy when the CIA agents are to the left of our progressive candidates. All right, maybe Taiwan is a war we don't want to get involved in because at best you might fight it to a Pyrrhic victory. That means a victory that is so damaging it actually leaves you worse off. That's when you win, but you hurt yourself so bad that it's almost worse than not have had. It's like the victory is not even a victory. You might avoid nuclear escalation, but you might not. So unless you can explain to the American people why it's worth it, which we didn't even attempt to do with Iran, I don't know if that's something you want to do. I think Taiwan is a crisis Xi Jinping also wants to avoid, not an opportunity he wants to seize. And when you see what he's done to his military in the last 2 years by eviscerating the senior command ranks, he doesn't look to me as a guy who's in a great big hurry. How do you explain the PLA purges? PLA has become systemically corrupt. I think Xi's conclusion as of last year was that he can't rely on the PLA to fix itself. So that's why he's cutting so deeply. There's a great study published by the Center for Strategic and International Studies in February that said that he fired at least 53% of his 3 and 4 stars. That's incredible. Mao did nothing like that. What he's doing isn't about a Taiwan scenario, it's about a Tiananmen Square 2.0. If push comes to shove, the army once again might have to save the party as it did in 1989. If you don't know if they would do that again, well, that's the wrong answer if you're a Chinese Communist Party. Your military has to be absolutely reliable and loyal. Now, serious question. Does anybody think America's generals are not corrupt as fuck? They just all get away with it. So the fact that Xi Jinping looks at his military and says, there's a lot of corruption here, we've got to fix that, that's being framed as a bad thing. Meanwhile, earlier in the article, he was just saying how you can't get a job if you're an expert in drones. You can't become a general or an admiral if you're an expert in drones. I think I'd rather have the society that purges the corruption, even if it's painful and embarrassing, than one that can't even promote somebody who's an expert on the cutting edge technologies of the future. Seems bad. Looking at the unpopularity of the U.S. war with Iran, do Chinese leaders say the Americans don't have the stomach for a fight? They have a very dark portrait of the United States as a global hegemon that's declining in power and becoming more violent as it tries to cling to its primacy. They see us as a very militarily aggressive country that's now abandoned all of its soft power through programs like USAID and Voice of America. While they think the U.S. public has a low tolerance for a long-scale war, based on what they've seen since Vietnam, they still see us as highly inclined to engage in military conflict. So that's one reason why I conclude that a war with Taiwan is not something that Xi Jinping is looking for. Man, it's almost like they have a really good, correct analysis of the U.S. Do you think China is less or more afraid of the United States militarily after the Iran war, or does it make no difference? I don't think it makes a big difference. Cope. I think what they've seen so far underscores some of the lessons they've already learned about the need for large magazines for very sophisticated weapons. The operation that might have impressed them more than what they saw in Iran was what we did in Venezuela, where we mounted a special operations raid that seized a foreign head of state. When they heard about the U.S. hacking into the camera systems at Caracas, they might have had a moment where they wondered about their own camera systems in Beijing. I think the Israelis, after the strikes on the Iranian leadership, said the same thing, that they were hacking cameras in Tehran to track high-profile targets. You may feel secure when you have cameras everywhere in Beijing, but what if an adversary has the same feed? It seems like Trump is motivated to end the war with Iran before the summit with Xi. I really don't know if the Chinese would raise it. They haven't staked out a very firm position other than a war is bad stance. They've seen some benefits from the energy disruption. It's been a boost for their green technology sales. They have had the largest strategic petroleum reserve in the world, and they've been filling it when everybody else is emptying theirs. So they don't detect they're under extreme pressure. Their biggest problems are internal and structural. It's not the war in Iran. All in all, I think basically what the CIA is saying is China is superior to the U.S. qualitatively and quantitatively. Their leadership is more peaceful and less inclined to use violence than ours. But if the United States fights a war with China, it will be a catastrophic defeat because we suck. That's I think I agree with that. I think I agree with all of those things, and it's bad. We need to stop fighting Israel's wars and start looking at the U.S. national interest and security concerns. Even the most dyed-in-the-wool NatSec lib is like, fuck Israel. Yes! Holy fucking shit, this is based. The rate of production of the J-20 stealth fighter has doubled in a dark factory in China. The process of making the body of the fighter is now completely automated with 0 workers. Hence, the production line doesn't even require lights. I mean, I don't know if this is true or not, but
近年来，他率领团队研发的航空复合材料自
the
动
US
铺
is
放
so
设备
fucked.
也突破了瓶颈。
它标志着我们航空复合材料结构件的生产从依赖人工的时代进入了自动化制造的时代。
The thing about the Chinese and the advantage they have over us is they own their military industrial complex. It's owned by the government. So there's no incentive to like overcharge. You don't personally see the big problem that we have in America is called the agent problem. It's the agent alignment problem. Basically, let's say that I want to do X, Y, or Z thing as a government. The problem is America doesn't do those things directly by the government. We hire contractors to do the thing, right? So let's say we want to build a bridge. We don't have a bunch of like bridge engineers who work for the Department of Public Works. And then, you know what I mean? We hire this out. And what happens is politicians are corrupted, and they get bribed, and the bidding system gets rigged, and the contracts become cost plus. And then there's all sorts of incentives to make everything more expensive and slower. And so more and more consultants get paid. So people are not incentivized to get the bridge done effectively and economically and quickly. They're incentivized to make everything suck shit and go as slow as possible so they can overcharge as much as they can. Whereas in China, it's the opposite effect. If you do things faster and under budget, you get promoted. Your career gets advanced when things are done quickly and efficiently. Your career is advanced the more economical you are with the taxpayers' dollars. And so that's why they keep beating our fucking ass. That's why they could build $1 trillion of high-speed rail crisscrossing their country, because people are incentivized to do well and efficiently.
可重复、可大批量生产，这是我们研制的一台自动铺带机。
Wow. Look at these factories, man. Have you been in a factory in the United States? How many of you have been in a factory in the United States? None of our factories look like this shit. Our factories look similar to something you would see in a third world sweatshop. They're dirty, they're rusted, they were built 50 fucking years ago, and they look that way.
我们只需要一个操作工，用半天的时间就把它完成了。
目前，大型飞机树脂机复合材料的用量已经占到了飞机结构总量的1半，战斗机已经占到了30%。
We are fucking cooked. We are so fucking cooked. This is what it feels like to be in a falling empire. Jesus Christ.
Getting around in Latin America can look like this, making it really hard to do business. The region's main trade partners are the US and China, with China compensating for a big underspend in transport infrastructure.
China invests more in Latin America infrastructure than the combined amount of development banks.
But how do you allow for an increase in trade while protecting the region with the highest biodiversity in the world? It's impossible to look at the connection between transport and trade in Latin America without first taking note of its geography. This is a region that spans from Mexico to Patagonia, and in between there you find the Amazon, the largest tropical forest in the world. The Andes Mountains, the world's longest mountain range, wall off one half of the continent from the other.
So that all means that building infrastructure is difficult and it's expensive.
America studies at the Council on Foreign Relations.
I mean, you look at a country like Peru, where you have a
whole economy, because investing in infrastructure tends to have a multiplier effect on growth. You invest $1 and you get more than $1 back in the long run because you facilitated increased trade. But the opposite is happening in Latin America. According to a study from the World Bank, all Latin American countries face logistics costs that are much higher than those in the OECD and the US. The benchmark for logistics costs is around 10%. In Latin America, they range from 15 to 25%. And though research is sparse on the topic, a study from 2008 looking at moving soybeans by truck for export from north of the Brazilian state of Mato Grosso to the port of Paranaguá could cost around $79 per tonne. This compares to $34 per tonne when moving by truck and barge soybeans produced around Minneapolis in the US.
Yeah, because the fucking Mississippi is one of the world's... America... I don't think people really understand how much of a paradise America actually is for human beings. You can literally sail from the Great Lakes through the river systems and go to Oklahoma. You could sail through the systems and go all the way over here. You could do the Great Loop, which is like you sail out. You could go from Louisiana all the way around, go to St. Lawrence, come through some canals, go through the Great Lakes, then pop out, drop into major rivers and sail all the way down the Mississippi and back to Louisiana. The United States of America is like got so much geographic advantages over the rest of the world, it's not even funny. If we actually invested in our fucking country, it would be the best in the world. Just from the geographic and ecological advantage. So fucking shameful.
Along the Mississippi River.
Whereas in Brazil, this is rainforest. Rainforest and mountain. Right? And it's not navigable. It's very difficult terrain.
To the Gulf ports in the country. Brazil, according to one study, is actually estimated to spend an extra almost 30% moving goods because of problems with the conditions of its roads. The picture is further complicated when looking at some ports in the region, with the lack of access roads being a particular problem. And while they have gotten better, with the numbers on the left representing their rating, they lag behind their peers in other regions of the world. Panama in Central America, with the Caribbean Sea on one side and the Pacific Ocean on the other, is a connectivity outlier in the region because of its canal. 5% of all seaborne trade in the world passes through this canal each year, with access to both the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, without the lengthy trip around South America. But whether Panama can continue to be a major player is questionable. Higher global temperatures are especially relevant to the region. Natural disasters have become more frequent and destructive, making the region the second most disaster-prone across the world. In 2023, for example, the Panama Canal was hit by a severe drought. Authorities dropped the number of crossings and there were record delays. This had a huge impact on supply chains. It forced liquid natural gas exporters from the US to circumnavigate the southern tip of South America, adding days of transit time. And that's one of the reasons why Panama is at the center of trade tensions between the US and China.
China is operating the Panama Canal, and we didn't give it to China. We gave it to Panama, and we're taking it back.
You can sort of almost precisely divide the continent in two. Below Panama, it's...
What is this? Lasagna? Why is this lasagna suspiciously flat? Why is it so clean? It looks like clean. You know what I mean? There's like nothing on the... It's like the... I've never seen a lasagna that looked this clean.
What do you mean? No, it's fine. Good.
I'm gonna have a bite of this, chat. Thank you. Theo is looking like the Cheshire Cat. I think this might be poisoned. Call the police if I die and say Vio did it. My first reaction is, damn, that's a lot of garlic. I don't know. I don't know about this one. I'm not trying to be ungrateful, chap, but my mouth is burning from garlic. I love garlic. Oh my God. That's a lot of garlic. So ungrateful today. My tongue is hurting. You know when you get like raw garlic? Have you ever eaten a clove of raw garlic? Do you know what Mussolini's favorite meal was? Raw garlic and olive oil. Isn't that fucking freak shit?
Essentially, China being the main trading partner and above Panama, it's the US. So if you look at Mexico, for example, Mexico exports around almost 30% of their GDP to the US. But if you look at Chile, Peru, they export around 10%.
There's like no way. See what I mean? Like, doesn't that look like tofu? I think this is like a vegan lasagna. I'm not seeing a lot of cheese either. Did you give me vegan lasagna, Vio? Is this vegan lasagna? This has to be a prank. It's vegan lasagna. I'm actually pretty proud of my palate. I only had one bite and I was like, this is off. This is off. And I didn't, and I'm so honest. I'm not a liar. I'm so honest. I'm not a liar. My palate is great. Like, look at that. I didn't pretend like you. Thank you. Dad, if you run into me out and about today, I'm so sorry for my breath. I'm so sorry for my breath. If you run into me today, holy fuck. I'm going to be tasting this garlic for days.
To China, but only a couple percentage points to the US.
I will never cook for this ungrateful man after that. Are you shitting me right now? Are you shitting me right now? Vio wouldn't say that. Vio intentionally did this as a troll. Vio would never give me vegan food. This must have been something to do with her stream. I'm going to find out. This must have had something to do with Vio's stream. This is a troll. This was 100% a troll. There's no way Vio would make vegan food. Vio is like, honestly, kind of problematic with her takes on vegans.
This is how the two powers have played out in the region over a 20-year period, from 2000 to 2021. For some countries, we've no information. But you see that within just 2 decades, China is now a major trading partner of South American countries.
And that was 2021, chat. You know that Colombia has definitely become more China friendly as well. If I were Brazil, you know what I would be doing? I would be going to China and saying, we need to build high-speed rail. Let's have the world's best infrastructure and renewable energy production and help us get nukes. If I were Brazil, that's what I would do. And I would say it's time for Latin America to form its own version of the European Union. And the United States of America should be pushed out. No more American military bases in Latin America. Get out, Yankee. Yankee, go home.
American countries.
That relationship is primarily trade-driven and diplomatic. China has turned to Latin America as a place to secure raw materials, metals, and agriculture.
Wow, I can't believe China is doing trade and diplomacy with the countries. This is so fucked up. I can't believe they're doing that.
Cultural goods to feed a growing population, to supply its own turn towards renewable energy and new types of manufacturing. And it's also looked for diplomatic support. And more specifically, it's looked to isolate Taiwan. It's also China's looking to compete with the United States in its own neighborhood. You know, at the same time that the US tries to leverage influence in Asia Pacific, China is trying to turn around and do essentially the same thing. Remind the United States that it's not invulnerable in its own country.
And apart from trade, with many of the region's governments operating under significant fiscal constraints, China is among the top sources of foreign direct investment in Latin America. Between 2005 and 2022, it invested in 228 infrastructure projects. 77 related to energy, 13 were for telecommunications, and 90 of these were transport projects.
This is a striking statistic. China invests more in Latin America infrastructure than the combined amount of development banks. It's the largest single external investment source for infrastructure, especially when it comes to ports and railways. So there's clearly a lot of interest in China in securing access to key resources of the region and in building economic relationship with the region so they have access to these resources.
Many of these projects arrive under the banner of China's Belt and Road Initiative, its global infrastructure development strategy to increase trade. For example, it's just built a megaport in Chancay in Peru, cutting down on transport times between South America and Shanghai.
It's really going to become a conveyor belt of South American minerals and agricultural goods from Brazil, from Argentina, from Chile, from Peru, from Ecuador, across the Pacific. There's a self-interested reason that China is investing in this infrastructure. It wants to streamline those flows of commodities out of the region and into its own markets.
But given all that we know about biodiversity in the region, is it possible to preserve it while allowing for development and economic growth?
Nuestros bosques, nuestros manglares, nuestros páramos, nuestros humedales albergan tal cantidad de carbono que nosotros sí somos un agente muy importante de mantener esta estabilidad climática del planeta.
Here you see areas across the world that hold the most carbon. The lighter in colour the region, the less carbon it soaks, while the darker areas absorb the most CO2.
Porque la buena noticia es que esa idea de que es o lo uno o lo otro, que tiene que haber o crecimiento o medio ambiente, es completamente errado. Lo que vemos es que no puede haber crecimiento si no tenemos, si no protegemos esos cimientos, esos fundamentos ambientales para que tengamos garantías de un clima estable, de suelos fértiles, de provisión de agua, etcétera, etcétera.
But a study looking at deforestation around the Amazon found that roads in the region can be linked to the clearance of trees. Satellite images show the BR-163 highway in the Brazilian state of Pará in 1990. Then it was a narrow, unpaved road. Fast forward to 2019. Significantly deforested land here in orange leads off the road, then mostly paved, and in some stretches with 2 lanes.
Yeah, this is all Bolsonaro. This is all Bolsonaro's legacy.
Hay una cifra que yo quiero que los...
By the way, the only person that's stopping this is Lula da Silva. I wonder if DW is going to point that out.
Quienes escuchen esta transmisión tengan muy presente, el 95% de la deforestación en el Amazonas, y esto es una cifra que se mantiene a nivel global,
is within 5.5 kilometers of a road. They fucked the
Experts
audio up.
argue that the biggest concerns in the region come from within. Concerns related to the expansion of illegal economies like illegal gold mining or timber or drug trafficking, whose businesses have really grown.
They exploit this very same infrastructure, and in some ways their supply chains are more regionally integrated than those of legal businesses. So you look at the Amazon right now, you've had an expansion of cocaine.
Well, I mean, yeah, like the drug trade is really where globalism got started. If you really want to talk about like globalism as an economic phenomenon, it was the Golden Triangle heroin trade led by the CIA that really started to integrate the world economy. So it was done by Taiwan and the CIA. They kind of spread heroin to and the opioid epidemic to the United States as a way of funding their dirty proxy wars in Southeast Asia and against China. Again, all of this is not even disputed. It's all a complete fact, by the way. Like, if you have known anybody who died or was addicted to any kind of opioid, the CIA probably is directly responsible for their death.
Trafficking and coca growing there, huge expansion of illegal gold mining as prices for gold surge and only seem to be going up more and more as we have this increasing uncertainty over the future of the global trading system. So I do worry that those actors who aren't constrained by the...
And by the way, this is like an acknowledged fact. You could just say KMT, heroin, Golden Triangle. The Golden Triangle is a large mountainous region of approximately 200,000 kilometers in northeastern Myanmar, northern Thailand, and northern Laos, centered on the confluence of the Ruak and Mekong rivers. The Golden Triangle was coined by Marshall Green, a U.S. State Department official, in 1971 in a press conference on the opium trade. Are they not going to say, okay, here it is. After hearing about African-American soldiers serving the Vietnam War becoming addicted to heroin while on rest and recuperation in Thailand, American drug lord Frank Lucas traveled to Bangkok in the early 70s in an attempt to set up a new trafficking route with his associate Ike Atkinson. after Lucas visited the Golden Triangle region and made an initial purchase of 132 kilograms of uncut heroin from the remnants of Chiang Kai-shek's defeated Kuomintang army for a price of $4,200 per kilogram, compared to $50,000 each that the New York Mafia charged. Atkinson used his contacts with the U.S. military to smuggle the narcotics via U.S. Air Force planes back to the eastern United States. It was then collected, cut to 10% purity, repackaged, and distributed on the streets of Harlem by dealers controlled by Lucas for a vast profit. The traditional European supply routes for American-consumed heroin, known as the French Connection, were disrupted after Turkey banned growing opium poppies, which led to another route via airplane from Southeast Asia. Again, it was all overseen by the Chiang Kai-shek, who is the leader of the KMT, America's ally, the nationalists in China, blah, blah, blah. They went to Taiwan. Eventually, it got so embarrassing that the KMT from the Golden Triangle was evacuated to Taiwan. It got so embarrassing that all the, the heroin money got too big. See right here? When the Communist People's Liberations Army entered Yunnan Province in December 1949, the KMT troops and their dependents began crossing into Burma in late December 1949 and early 1950. Those KMT troops were members of the 8th Army commanded by Lieutenant General Li Mi, the 26th Army under Major General Liu Kuchan, and the 93rd Division under Major General Ma Cha-yu. By June 1950, the Burmese government demanded that the KMT either surrender or leave Burma immediately. The KMT field commander received the Burmese request, not only refused to comply, but declared the KMT troops had no intention of either surrendering or leaving the area and would retaliate with force if the Burmese army initiated military action. CIA assistance in the opium trade. Well, there it is. Again, like, sometimes I say shit and people are like, oh, Mike is spinning some sort of conspiracy theory. Mike is saying that my family died because of the CIA trade. There's no fucking the CIA. No, that sounds like a conspiracy theory. And it's like, no. Taiwan equals all the dead people who died of heroin in the US. Now, that's an uncomfortable fact. And then the heroin trade moved to Afghanistan, by the way, under who? The CIA. Now, fentanyl comes from where? Cartel-controlled areas of Mexico, which is cartels are linked to the CIA. So just so you know, everybody who dies of this shit is dying from our intelligence services needing dirty money. The United States supported the KMT army, which strained the Burma-United States relationship and raised protests for the Burmese government. The United States was motivated by fears of Southeast Asia's fall to communism, a disastrous possibility that would entail the endangerment of the Pacific perimeter and alleviate the People's Republic's food insecurity, because the United States was sanctioning and blockading China to try to starve the population so they would want to overthrow the communists. So if you ever talk about a quadrillion bajillion people starving in China, that was because the US made it our explicit policy. So when they say communism kills, what they're really doing is beating their chest of, we killed those people. It's a brag. The United States thus hoped the KMT forces would harass Southwest China and divert Chinese resources from the Korean War. The KMT army in Burma could not have expanded as it did without the logistical support from the United States, Thailand, and Taiwan, as well as financial support derived from the KMT's involvement in the region's opium trade. The United States Central Intelligence Agency was the primary agency in charge of the covert program called Operation Paper that transported weapons and supplies to the KMT from Taiwan via Thailand. The plan received President Truman's approval and support from Thailand's Prime Minister, Thak Khipom Songkram. I tried. But it notably excluded the U.S. State Department, who actively worked to defuse the situation it was unaware that elements of the government had created. The American involvement in Operation Paper was revealed in late 1951 due to miscommunication between the Thai and British governments, the former having believed the British had been privy to the operation. The diplomatic entanglement culminated in the U.S. Ambassador Burma, David McKinney's resignation. The CIA put together a secret air supply network that shipped weapons and supplies to General Lee Mee's forces in Mong Histat from Thailand. The first shipments have started in early 1951 when unmarked C-46 and C-47 aircraft were making at least 5 parachute drops a week. By the late 1951, the KMT repaired the old airstrip at Mong Hasat, constructed by Allied forces during World War II. The enlarged airstrip could handle large four-edged aircraft that allowed KMT troops to obtain newly manufactured American weapons from Taiwan. CIA advisors also accompanied the KMT army in the Yunnan invasion in May 1951, and some of them were killed during the offensive. Rest in piss. And then they tried to colonize Burma and all that other shit. The U.S., blah, 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 blah. They, CIA doing evil shit. Well, are you surprised? With the assistance of PLA troops, the Burmese army conducted a series of successful military operations in 60-61 that finally broke the back of KMT irregulars. Furthermore, on 15 February 1961, the Burmese army managed to down and capture a patrol plane that attempted to drop supplies on the KMT. That incident provided the Burmese government concrete evidence that Taiwan had been supplying the KMT guerrillas with military supplies of American origin. The diplomatic crisis that ensued prompted the United States to exert strong pressure on Taiwan to evacuate its remaining troops from Burma. Between 31 March and 17 April 1961, Taiwan evacuated its 4,400 KMT guerrillas and dependents. So in other words, again, everywhere the United States goes, the heroin trade pops up. The heroin trade is the CIA op, just in case you know. And so is the fentanyl trade now. They're doing the same shit in Mexico.
They're going to be the ones who are doing most to destroy the environment in Latin America, and government's having a very hard time reining them in.
According to a report from Inside Crime, illegal economies are placing the region's biodiversity under significant threat. And the region is the most violent in the world for those who defend the land and the environment. The figures on the left show the number of environment-related killings across the world. In blue, you see other regions of the world, while the pink represents Latin America, which in 2023 recorded 85% of all murders of environment defenders.
It's not straightforward when looking at whether Latin America can preserve its biodiversity while strengthening trade and transport capacities.
It won't if the United States is influential in Latin American politics, like Bolsonaro.
There hasn't been enough spending on infrastructure to truly know. And with the little spending we've seen, the region is already experiencing problems.
I was surprised when researching this story that governments in Latin America haven't managed to deliver a broad multi-year transport infrastructure strategy, especially given that logistics costs are so high and their economies are on the line. And while there are hurdles from the region's geography to the rise in illegal economies,
the biggest hurdle to me seems to be the lack of a vision and the money to back it up.
Somebody wanted to talk about CIA complicity in drug trafficking. In the winter of 1982, as the United States was plotting how to overthrow the Sandinista government that came to power in Nicaragua, a letter, a memorandum of understanding, was being drafted in Washington, D.C. The presumptive author was U.S. Attorney General, the late William French Smith. The recipient was Central Intelligence Agency Director William Casey. The subject was a list of offenses that CIA field officers in the field were required to report if they witnessed or became aware of a crime, particularly if it involved an informant or someone like the CIA officer wanted to recruit as an agent. The letter of understanding listed all kinds of crimes from murder to passport fraud, but it omitted narcotics violations. I've been advised that a question arose regarding the need to add all narcotic violations to the list of non-employee crimes. In light of these provisions and in view of the fine cooperation that the DEA has received from CIA, no formal requirement regarding the reporting of narcotics violations has been included in these procedures. It was fairly clear and all officers with whom we questioned on it, and some who we did but whom the House questioned, realized that if drugs were intermixed with this program, it would fail, it would kill it. They knew perfectly well, because of past accusations in previous theaters, that it would be the kiss of death. Like, this is the reality, right? Like, the U.S. intelligence has always used narcotics trafficking as a way of getting illicit funding and a way of recruiting more agents, because of course you would. You're making people rich from an illicit drug, and you're giving them protection from the American government from being prosecuted. So if you want them to fight some dirty war against a trade unionist somewhere, who better than a gang member to go murder that guy, right? Who else would go murder somebody who's trying to raise the wages of a banana farmer, right? But an evil, narcissistic sociopath who's comfortable killing people to make money. Gangs are the perfect allies for the CIA, and they always have been. All right, chat. Trump is meeting Xi.
The U.S. has imposed new sanctions against 12 individuals and entities over the sale and shipment of Iranian oil to China. They were issued ahead of President Trump's trip to Beijing, where he's planning to hold high-stakes talks with Xi Jinping. Mr. Trump will leave Washington later today. We're joined now by Isaac Stone-Fish. He's the CEO and founder of Strategy Risks, a geopolitical risk firm with a focus on China. Isaac, good morning. So as we just laid out, President Trump is in between, two bad options when it comes to what to do with Iran. So how will this overshadow or color his meeting with Xi Jinping, which has many other important economic agenda items?
Exactly. It'll color this if President Trump really focuses on trying to get Chairman Xi's help to end the war. In Xi Jinping's mind, Taiwan is so much more important than Iran, and Beijing would love to see this war go on to keep burning U.S. treasure and U.S. prestige globally.
And interestingly, China is a somewhat ally of Iran. They're not kind of philosophically linked, but they have some economic ties, some trade ties. What, in your view, might South Korea and Japan be interested to get out of these talks, considering the bigger global picture?
They are also quite worried about Taiwan, especially Japan. Japan is roughly 100 miles from Taiwan, its most southern island. And they also want to see the United States standing up to China. I think they're afraid of a U.S. that's leaving its commitments in Asia, and that would be leaving the continent and their territorial integrity to Beijing. So they're going to want to see tougher actions from Trump than perhaps Trump is willing to do vis-a-vis China.
And so with Taiwan and China at the forefront of what the U.S. and other regional allies are looking at, what about North Korea and Russia? What might they be concerned about or wanting to see happen or not happen from this dialogue?
North Korea just wants to get global attention, and so they would like to see an opportunity for them to slot in and for them to be noticed. And so it's still possible, it's very unlikely, but it's still possible that they do something very provocative in the next couple of days to remind the world that they're there. Russia wants to see support for its position in Ukraine. And it's very unlikely that that'll come up publicly, but they would love to see Beijing say something about what Russia is doing in Ukraine and why Russia's war, in their mind, is just.
All right, they may do something provocative in the next few days. If that happens, Isaac Stone-Fish, we've got to bring you back. Thanks for being with us this Tuesday.
People have got to stop posting things that's going to make me publicly disagree with them. But, if you're going to post shit if you're going to try to side-eye AOC because you're wrong about AOC and you're continually wrong about AOC and it's fucking embarrassing. It's so wild to me. People like Chris Robb, right? I like Chris. Chris is great. No shade to Chris, but he ain't shit compared to AOC. His politics are weaker than AOC's. He's to the right of AOC. When he gets to Congress, he's not going to vote as good as she does. So how the fuck are you going to go out there and be like, oh yeah, Chris Robb, amazing. We love him so much. And then side-eye AOC. It's stupid. It's stupid. Meanwhile, AOC is endorsing Chris. It's designed to rage bait me. All right, we're watching.
This has been an ongoing debate, and frankly, it's no politician is going to make you.
Chapo's criticism of AOC is that she's too willing to acquiesce whatever people yell at her. What is their example of her acquiescing?
Happy 100% of the time. You have to assess. People do this individually. Groups do this. Whether it's DSA or other groups, you need to assess, what's the net positive here? How much space should we give a politician to both accumulate power and then deploy it in the way that we want them to deploy it? And there is a tension between accumulating power and then deploying that power or taking positions and using their public voice to influence the outcomes of things. I mean, that's just the deployment of power. There's always a tension. And here is AOC answering a question. I can't quite remember where was she in this?
An event at the University of Chicago Institute of Politics.
And she's asked about crossing partisan lines to do stuff. And she says, the beginning of this gets a little cut off, but she says, I've crossed the partisan lines to deal with things like insider trading in Congress and pass legislation and whatnot. But then she also makes a point of saying sometimes you have to be leery of these type of partnerships, but also, and I would argue, assess their value. And here's what she said.
You know, and I care about results. I care about results. Now, there are certain places where, certain areas where I don't think that we should ignore some folks' record on some of these issues, right? It's about where we trust intent, where we trust where those outcomes are going. I personally do not trust someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene, a proven bigot and anti-Semite, on the issues of what is good for Gazans and Israelis. I don't think that it benefits our movement in that instance to align the left with white nationalists.
Thanks, Conrad.
I don't think it serves us. And so I think it's about looking at the context, the place, the results, the outcomes, intentions, and where we think that train would go. But as far as what someone says about me, I could care less. And, I think it's really about what our outcomes are. And to be honest, there are some areas where things will not get done if they're partisan because they are anti-establishment. There's bipartisan consensus on keeping and protecting stock trading in Congress. And so it's going to require a massive bipartisan consensus of people willing to come together across those differences to get it done.
All right, so apparently this was a controversial thing to say. Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene has been speaking out about Israel. She has been speaking out against Trump's refusal to release the Epstein stuff. I don't know that she said anything else that aligns with my politics, but the idea that we, as the left or any that there should be some type of partnership here is just absurd. I am happy she's doing it, but to align with her in is a mistake for many reasons. I don't know who her constituency is. She may be peeling people off the right on this topic. That's great. But what's the value of praising her? The value of praising her only goes to her and impacts people on the left. And
that's the point, is the AOC derangement syndrome is actually a syndrome. And there's two ways to look at it. I could psychologize it because honestly, it's a sign of weak intellect, or I could say it's either personality or psychology, right? Which I guess are related. Or incentives. Because Marjorie Taylor Greene fucking sucks and she has no support. I know that a lot of people want to cope, but the Marjorie Taylor Greene support, what? Nick Fuentes guys are going to retweet you? What are you saying? What are you talking about? She dropped out immediately from a tweet from Trump. If she was a fighter, she would have stayed in office and went down with the ship. And she would have voted against a bunch of Republican shit. But she quit and started podcasting. What are we saying here? No politician should ever be rewarded for quitting. That's another thing. If a politician quits, they're done. They're done. If you get elected to office and then you quit early, you're fucking done. And the only exception to that is when you've been elected to a higher office. All right? If you're quitting early in your term to make content, you're fucking done. What's the hang up with AOC on the issue? She hasn't materially supported bills to fund Israel. She's never voted to give money to Israel, period. She voted against an amendment that Marjorie Taylor Greene put up, but that's it. She voted present on bills that passed with 500 votes or whatever the fuck, 400 some votes, right? But she has never voted to give Israel money. And there's only 5 people in Congress that have a better voting record on this issue. And only 3 people that have a better voting record than her over all issues. And they're names that you know. Summer Lee, Rashida Tlaib, and Ilhan Omar. Those are the only people that are on AOC's level. It's not that AOC is hanging back from them. They're the only people that are on her level. Okay? Like, that's the thing as well, is it's like people talk about this like AOC is like dragging ass, but it's like, no, there's only 3 people on her fucking level. What are you doing? What are you saying? It's just nonsense. Now, obviously, AOC should do a better job on the internet. And I think the main problem that I know what it is. A lot of people that are on the online left fixate on attacking liberals. You get negatively polarized by online centrist scum, and you spend a lot of your time yelling at online centrist scum, and then AOC says something positive, that liberals like, where she attacks the Republicans, and you're like, oh, why isn't she attacking the Democrats like me? Why isn't she attacking the Democrats 24/7 like me? Meanwhile, AOC is out there endorsing Zoran. She's endorsing Rob. She's out there sprinkling her support towards left-wing politicians that align with us completely. And they're like, no, she should make her entire narrative shitting on the Democrats like me. And it's like, no, she's tried to get the support of regular Democrats, and it's working. She's hoping that you as a lefty are going to be smart enough to recognize that her policies are the best. But no, people want that. As I said, they want blood sports. They want her to do epic clapbacks against Nancy Pelosi or whatever the fuck. They're not actually looking for what her material policies are, what she actually argues. And they want to, listen, I understand hating Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. I think when Ilhan Omar endorsed Kamala Harris, that was cringe. I didn't like it. I'll be honest with you. But how many times do you hear people melting down over Ilhan Omar endorsing Kamala? How many times do you see people melting down over Ilhan Omar endorsing Kamala Harris? The answer is never. Why? Because Ilhan Omar is not a likely president.
And there's every reason to distrust her. First off, Ryan Grimm, who more often than not I think has good takes, said something on Twitter, something to the effect of like, she sacrificed her career to go against Trump on these topics. And I'm sorry, that's not what happened here. Put up number 10. This is what happened with Marjorie Taylor Greene. In July of 2025, in the Georgia Recorder, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene says she'll not run for governor just weeks after taking a pass on entering Georgia's U.S. Senate race. Greene, a close ally of President Donald Trump, announced Tuesday she will not run for governor in 2026, citing a desire to focus on her district. She wants to focus on her district, okay? Incidentally, that's the first fucking lie.
Yeah.
Because the focus lasted from that moment only 6 months, not even 5. And a distaste for what she called Georgia's good old boy political system.
Yeah.
I am humbled and grateful by the massive statewide support that I have to run for governor. And if I wanted to run, we all know I would win.
What? Okay.
No, wait a second. So now she doesn't want to run. It's not even debatable. The Rome Republican wrote in a long post on X, Greene previously pulled her name out of the race for the U.S. Senate, held by John Offset, reportedly under pressure from members of her party, including Trump, who were concerned that she might win big with the conservative primary voters but fall flat in the general election. She was top 10% fundraising in all House incumbents, but understand that she was also, do we have this down here? Trump wanted her out of the governor's race as well. So you understand, she knows that she's locked out of leadership in the House, even though she's doing all this fundraising. She also has made millions of dollars. We're talking in late July. We're talking August of 2025. She's made all this money. She's raised all this money for Trump. She has kissed his ass. She was his loyal soldier in all of the fights about Speaker of the House. She backed down, I think, at one point because Trump said, heel. She vanquished Boebert for Donald Trump's heart. And then Donald Trump takes her dream of being governor or being senator and squashes it. And she realizes, I don't want to be in Congress anymore. Maybe because there's rumors about her insider trading, maybe not, who knows? And then it's not until a month or two later that she starts going against Trump. And so the idea that and if you think she like decided 3 weeks before January 5th to resign, not retire, resign, walk away. She's so mad about the Israelis getting weapons and so mad about the Epstein files not being released. She is going to remove herself from the literally 3 or 4 votes that exist in the House that control what the House does at this point. I'm going, does she have 25% at that power at that point as to where the House is going? Could she not have pulled 1 or 2 even Republicans with her if she was voting that way? I don't know, but I'm sorry. She doesn't give a shit about any of this stuff. Not only that, what's a coincidence is if you look back at where she was, let's just go through some of her tweets months before this.
I mean, this is kind of like basic shit, right? Which is, can we have a political movement that is coherent? Do we have a political movement that is actually coherent? Do we have a political movement that actually has leaders that we rally behind and advance because they represent our political positions? Or are we purely jerked around by social media or viral tweets? Like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Tucker Carlson coming out against Israel. That is notable. That is interesting. Like it if you want. But it doesn't mean they're part of our movement or they align with us, even in the anti-Israel situation. They could easily be convinced that supporting Israel is a support of the American empire because they support American empire. They're not anti-imperialists. That's why Tucker Carlson was happy to go to the White House and celebrate the kidnapping of Maduro. He's not a principled anti-imperialist. He doesn't believe in human rights or human universals. He is not somebody who is in favor of international law. He just doesn't like the way Israel is making us look. He just doesn't like Jews. And the fact that Israel is unpopular, he's happy to take advantage of that. He is an opportunist. He's not principled. That's why he was an Israel supporter 10 years ago, because that was helpful and useful for his career.
Here's number 8. This was back in the wake of the October 7th attack and Israel's genocidal response. Green introduced a censure resolution last week against Tlaib, one of 2 Muslims in Congress. The resolution accuses Tlaib of anti-Semitic activity after she voiced concern over America's continued role in supplying arms to Israel. Continue. Here's Marjorie Taylor Greene in the end of 2023. I hope every pro-Hamas student that walks out of their classes today protesting against Israel gets a failing grade. We need to defund all colleges and universities that promote these anti-Semitic protests. Stop rewarding bad behavior. This is back, incidentally, where she thought she had a future in being governor or senator of Georgia until Donald Trump crushed her dreams. Here we go.
Christmas Day.
Christmas Day. Pro-Palestine equals pro-Hamas equals terrorists attacking New York with their war on Jews and Christians. I think we'll see New York voting red in 2024. Until then, this will get worse before it gets better. In 2024, Antifa is back, only this time they support Hamas and are prepared to declare jihad. But Biden's DOJ is still rounding up J6 election protesters. Those are the people who took a shit in the House. And and treating them like terrorists. And most Republican members of Congress refuse to help nonviolent J6 protesters. Oh, here we go. This is in 2025. I'm sorry. This is a month before Donald Trump crushes Marjorie Taylor Greene's career ambitions. No Senate, no governor. Here she is.
This is after Mamdani won the primary, I believe.
Yeah, a burqa over the...
Well, who cares about Zohran Mamdani, right? We've got Marjorie Taylor Greene to support, right? Like, that's what people are... That's what people unironically say. And, part of that is, how do you put this in a nice way? How do I put this in a nice way? like, I don't want to make this like, I don't want to be mean, but I do think there is a little bit of personality disorder. You know, like it isn't just about ideas or politics. It's really more of like an antisocial orientation, a kind of confrontational, or like always have to be yelling at people, always have to be fighting, always have to be in a position of aggression. It's not really, they don't have the ability to emotionally modulate. And that's coming from me. I'm an attack dog. I am abrasive. If I'm telling you like, hey man, maybe you're going a little bit too far, you're being a little unhinged, you should probably, I don't know, take that as a well-intentioned advice.
Statue of Liberty.
Nobody says that. Who on the left thinks Marjorie Taylor Greene is a socialist or whatever? They think Marjorie Taylor Greene is better than AOC on Palestine. That's what they think.
And then once elected into office, she did end up signing on with police funding. This is not like, there's also a lot of ultras in Los Angeles too, in LA politics. There's a lot of Cinemarxisms in LA politics, including Cinemarxism himself at the time when he did live in LA, who will treat.
I don't think Hassan means Cinemarxisms are useful. Like, I think he's kind of saying Cinemarxisms suck, right? Like, am I crazy?
DSA LA endorsed candidates like they are literally the great Satan themselves. If they sidestep away from any of their promises, even marginally, and yeah, people who pay attention to LA politics. Yeah, I pay attention to LA politics too. Okay, calm down. Like Nithya has done a lot of good work with homelessness in the city. Can we both at least agree on that? It's probably her only strong suit, and it's something that you care about quite a bit, right? But this is also true. Nithya was endorsed by Democrats for Israel. I know. You're telling me shit that I know already. That's what I'm saying. That is the reason for concern, okay? Brett is not the enemy, man. Come on. No, I don't think Cinemarxism is my enemy at all. What the fuck are you talking about? I've literally worked with him directly. He's done cam op work for me in the past. I can have reasonable disagreements with comrades, okay? It's normal. Shut the fuck up. It doesn't mean anything beyond that. Jesus Christ, some of you fucking babies. Anyway, yeah, regardless though, there is definitely, and it's not just Cinemarxism, there's definitely a lot of people in LA politics that will literally be like, oh, you are Satan incarnate if you in any way, shape, or form have made horrible decisions. Even if like the rest of your policies are on board and the rest of your policies are solid. New poll, Pro Nithya Abundance Network Growth Machine Fund, Bass stalled out with a ceiling. Spencer Pratt growing in second place position. Nithya Rahman in third, but also winning in the runoff while Pratt gets thumped.
I really hate this jungle primary bullshit. We really need to like do an electoral reform of California. The jungle primary is garbage. It really is garbage because it creates vote splitting maximization. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with this? This idea is so stupid. Who came up with this? Yeah, let's have 30 people run. Oh, somebody got 19% of the vote. Yay! There shouldn't be a nominee now. Like, what the fuck are we doing? It's incredibly stupid.
Now, I don't know where the torch is, but whatever. I guess I'm being... here she is. Back in 2023, I stand with Israel, attacking Ilhan Omar for protecting Palestinians. Yep. We could go on actually, because
about this person who doesn't have a vote in Congress. We could talk about Jewish space lasers, which I don't know. I find that a little suspect. I'm suspicious of people who think that the Jews own space lasers. As to like, I think it's fair to say that that's sort of an anti-Semitic. I'd say that's anti-Semitic. Yeah, I feel pretty comfortable saying that. She pushed QAnon. She pushed Pizzagate. Someone got shot. The irony is, like, I think Marjorie Taylor Greene should be regarded the exact way like the never Trump sort of centrists are, which is like
100%.
Yeah,
I am happy that Bill Kristol is out there saying shit that is better than Chuck Schumer. Jennifer Rubin, God bless. All the Lincoln Republicans or whatever they call them, the Lincoln Group, the Bulwark people, great.
Don't expect them to
Let 1,000
you.
flower, but and I will tell you, they are a lot more consistent and trustworthy, and it's not so quite obvious as to what their cynical ploy is, as it is with Marjorie Taylor Greene. And I'm not equating their positions in any way. I'm just saying the dynamic. And so the idea that we should partner with Marjorie Taylor Greene, listen, if Marjorie Taylor Greene thought that it was advantageous for her to flip back, she would do so in 30 seconds.
Exactly. That's the point. Like, do you think Marjorie Taylor Greene, who has been very pro-Israel in the past, do you think she suddenly is like now not a ghoul? She's a fucking ghoul.
And who?
Trump just now. What the fuck is this?
When you're negotiating with Iran, Mr. President, to what extent are Americans' financial situations motivating you to make a deal?
Not even a little bit. The only thing that matters when I'm talking about Iran, they can't have a nuclear weapon. I don't think about Americans' financial situation. I don't think about anybody. I think about one thing. We cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. That's all.
How did Democrats lose to this fucking dope? It's actually amazing.
That's the only thing that motivates.
When you're negotiating with Iran, Mr. President, to what extent are Americans' financial situations motivating you to make a deal?
Not even a little bit. The only thing that matters when I'm talking about Iran, they can't have a nuclear weapon. I don't think about Americans' financial situation.
I mean, that's... what can you even say? What can you even say? Amazing. Maybe I'm dumb, but why doesn't Iran use the law of the war to make a nuke? Because in order to have a nuke, you need a facility known as a centrifuge facility, which is not to get into the chemistry of forming enriched uranium, but it requires a large facility to refine uranium. All right, and they don't have the physical security over their airspace that would be necessary to establish such a facility, and also, so that wouldn't be attacked, right? So in order to have a nuclear weapon, you need plutonium or uranium that's 90% pure. And when I say pure, I mean uranium-235. You could also make nuclear weapons from other isotopes of uranium as well, but they don't usually occur naturally in nature. The primary isotopes of uranium in nature are uranium-238 and uranium-235. Uranium-238 has too many neutrons, therefore it's not useful for creating a fissionable chain reaction. So you need uranium-235. Uranium-235 is, I think it's about 10% of the uranium in uranium ore is uranium-235. So you need uranium-235. And I mean, you could also use uranium-233 for nuclear weapons, but that requires you to have a breeder reactor, usually breeding thorium into uranium. But anyway, not to get too much into the physics and the chemistry and the geopolitics, making a nuclear bomb requires you to have the materials. And that requires you to have certain facilities. And that's where the vulnerability gets in. And the reason why America and Israel are attacking Iran is because Iran is pretty close to having a nuclear weapon. If they were to enrich their uranium, they would be able to do it. They already have the other expertise. It's just about getting that specific material. And there's no other use for uranium-235 to be enriched, like a uranium supply to be enriched to 90% pure, which is what it needs to be. Does that make sense? One thing that's really cool is that uranium ore is really cool looking. Isn't that cool? It's like some sort of evil, it's like dragon scales or some weirdly weird evil shit. There's something happening with this stuff. Let's just say you look at this and you're like, there's something really menacing and evil about this substance. Like a pox boil or like some sort of disease called pitchblende. Also, it could be purple. Is that cool? Anyway, what was I saying? So to answer your question, like nuclear weapons are not an advanced technology. They're a 1940s technology. So it's not that it's hard to do. It's just that the materials require a certain kind of industrial production. And to have that, you need to have these facilities. And those facilities require, that's where the vulnerability comes in.
I care about results. I care about results. Now, there are certain places certain areas where I don't think that we should ignore some folks' record on some of these issues, right? It's about where we trust intent, where we trust where those outcomes are going. I personally do not trust someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene, a proven bigot and anti-Semite, on the issues of what is good for Gazans and Israelis. I don't think that it benefits our movement in that instance to align the left with white nationalists. I don't think it serves us. And so I think it's about looking at the context, the place, the results, the outcomes, intentions, and where we think that train would go. But as far as what someone says about me, I could care less. And I think it's really about what our outcomes are. And to be honest, there are some areas where things will not get done if they're partisan because they are anti-establishment. There is bipartisan consensus on keeping and protecting stock trading in Congress. And so it's going to require massive bipartisan consensus of people willing to come together across those differences to get it done.
Right? Not to say that she's like 100% there, not to say that she's infallible. Like, working tirelessly for a ceasefire is a perfectly valid critique.
I personally think that line in her DNC speech was incredibly dumb, and I said that at the time. I also thought they were dumb as fuck for not wanting Biden to drop out. I thought that was incredibly dumb. But the idea that, like, we should discard all of the other progress that'll be made for the socialist movement because she made a calculation to support that many other people made to support Kamala Harris over Donald Trump because of how dangerous he would be. Does she look stupid for that decision now? Let's be honest and look back. Was it stupid to take the threat of Donald Trump seriously? No, it fucking wasn't. No, it fucking wasn't. He's been worse than I thought. I thought we were going to see Trump term 1 again. No, he is absolutely far more corrupt, far more threatening, far more Zionist, far more warm. Like, he is absolutely far worse than we could have ever imagined. So if anything, those people who decided to vote for Kamala Harris, they shouldn't be shamed for that decision. That was a totally reasonable decision to make. Now, the reason why it was a bad decision for Kamala Harris to support Israel is because that cost her the election. Focus on who you should be mad at, which is Kamala Harris. If Kamala Harris had listened to us about Palestine, she would have likely won. And it's like, it's the height of hubris to be like, I can't believe you disagreed with me on something. Now I'm going to say that you support things you don't support. That's kind of an evil little argumentative structure that people do, where they try to put you into a box by association.
What power does she have now? She gave up the only power she wanted to. And here's the reason why. Because she decided she was going to get rid of Trump. But if she's ever going to have a future in the Republican Party, she did not want to be in Congress and actually vote in a way that would have hurt Republicans.
Oh my God, chat. I want to talk about this story, but we might have to do it tomorrow because the New York Times just posted. I want to show you this TikTok. Actually, you know what? Let's watch this TikTok because it's actually so important. I was planning on watching it, but then the Abdul stuff came out, and it needs to be talked about. Actually,
when Israel was attacked,
I want to spend like an hour plus on it, and I don't feel like we're gonna have enough time. But basically, the New York Times has stood behind an opinion piece that came out about Israel using dogs to rape prisoners. There is no truth to this at all. Nicholas Kristof is a two-time Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist who has reported on sexual violence for decades and is widely regarded as one of the world's best on-the-ground reporters documenting and bearing witness to sexual abuse experienced by women and men in war and conflict zones. He traveled to the region to report firsthand on the stories of Palestinians who suffered abuse, and his article collects accounts in the victims' own words, backed by independent studies from the official spokesperson of the New York Times. Okay, let's watch it. We'll watch it again tomorrow, but it's really heart-wrenching.
On October 7th, 2023, Officials were quick to condemn the sexual violence of Hamas.
You've heard of the rape of Israeli women? Where the hell are you?
Women raped, assaulted, paraded as trophies.
He uses rape as a weapon of war.
Sexual violence as a weapon of war by Hamas.
I went to the West Bank to talk with Palestinians who experienced sexual assault firsthand by Israeli soldiers, settlers, and prison guards. Their harrowing accounts, backed by lawyers, surveys, and international reports, suggest that sexual violence by Israelis against Palestinians is widespread. And that raises the question, where is the revulsion against sexual assault now? I don't see any evidence that Israeli leaders order rape, but they have built a security apparatus where, according to a 2025 United Nations report, sexual violence is a major element in the ill treatment of Palestinians. Prime Minister Netanyahu has called accusations of sexual violence by Israelis baseless, but my reporting suggests that sexual violence has greatly worsened under Netanyahu in recent years. What exactly does this look like? Here's what I found. This is Sameh Al-Sai, a freelance journalist for international news organizations.
اصطحبوني للزنزانة انفرادية في الزنزانة الانفرادية هاي وأنا مقيد بالإجرين والإيدين ومغطى الأعين رموني على الأرض بوضعية السجود وانتزعوا بنطلوني والبوكسر وبدأوا بعملية اغتصاب بالعصي والجزر بطريقة عنيفة جدا ومؤلمة جدا والتحرش ولمس أعضاء التناسلية بشكل قوي ومزعج ومؤلم جدا.
I spoke to a farmer who recounted how 20 settlers rampaged through Palestinian homes and used a hunting knife to cut off his clothes.
شفت المستوطنين دخلوني من برا الخيمة خشيت جوا الخيمة سحبوا المستوطنين في المرابط البلاستيكية هذول ربطوا على يدي من هان أكثر من مربط على إجري ضربوني هاي على عيني بوكس سحبوني جوا هان على الخيمة صار يكبوا علي تراب مي.
Accuse me of being hateful. Hassan and I will forever be accused of being hateful. At the best, we'll be controversial. At best, they'll be, well, they apologized, or they backed down, or they say they don't support blah 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 blah. And that's why, when many people like me get slandered and defamed because we are brave enough to put our face behind our statements, put our name next to our positions. I ask that you help us instead of looking for examples of how you can trash us. All right, we'll talk more about this, and it's fucking horrifying and terrible, but I want to do a longer conversation on it because the New York Times is defending this reporting, which is an important, shift. Pro-Israel or pro-Palestinian, these aren't basketball teams. Well, for a lot of people, they are. A DSA president without significant congressional socialist caucus will play out the same as Zoran's current constant daily obstruction by his own government. Yeah, of course. Of course. That's why we need to have a credible electoral program for at the congressional level. Sorry, but is that t-shirt available for purchase? Not yet. All right, everybody. That's going to be it for me today. Thanks so much. Don't forget to check out the newest reaction podcast on Candace Owens. It is a Patreon exclusive. So make sure that you sub to the Patreon, help get us up so that we can give a living wage to our editor. We're doing pretty well. We're growing pretty strongly on the Patreon. So get in there. Help us support the stream. All right, everybody. Stay safe. Solidarity forever, my friends. I'm sending you over to VO. Free Palestine. From the river to the sea. That's all we've got to say. We are winning, folks. We are winning. So stay the course. I'll see you tomorrow. We have Claire Valdez coming on the stream. So make sure you have your wallet ready. All right, everybody. Stay safe. Solidarity forever. I'll see you all soon. Peace out.